Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. As we're Sports Time, we're with you for the next 3 hours and a lot to get into. I was off yesterday, missed yesterday's show. Back today, a quick trip up to Nashville and back. Glad I didn't miss anything in my time off. Very smooth, not a lot of news, just one of those easygoing September 4ths that nobody will ever remember here locally, I'm sure. Just, one of those mundane days, Brett. So, I think it was a good day for me to miss. Am I right?
No. Good afternoon, Brian. No,
Good
quite
afternoon.
the contrary. I want us to have fun and to cut up and laugh and have a good time. But these are very, very challenging days. No, I know you're facetious, and you also know the historic times that we're in. And I said yesterday, way back on that last Friday of June when we did the top stories of the year for the first half of the year, whatever was number one locally has been moved down to two. Number one locally is the Tuesday Night Massacre and everything that's subsequently that's going to come out of this. And it is quite rich with irony that some of the people that were very integral, they sure took a lot of credit for it, of the coup to get Tubby Smith out and Penny Hardaway in as coach. Now they're all running for the exits. That was very predictable. There's almost no self-reflection at all with some of them, and they're writing and they're saying basically, oopsie, oopsie, I missed.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind of the last 36 hours or so, almost 42 hours at this point. I know I don't want to rehash everything that I know was talked about yesterday morning from 7 a.m. when Greg and Eli started the show.
Well, it's dizzying, for one thing.
It really is. But, Brett, when we got off air on, I guess now Tuesday evening, and I think it was about 3 or 4 minutes after we'd gotten off air, and one of my best friends texted me, and he said, "What in the world just happened?"
Hammer was falling.
I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And he sent me the text of the first report that came out. Hitman Hoops was the first to kind of put that out there, that a handful of staff members, and this was before Rick Stansberry was involved in that. That came later into the night. But that 3, I guess at that point, staff members were going to be let go, and that just started, and it has not stopped. We thought that the biggest news was going to be Rick Stansberry and the rest of those coaches, that was going to be the big news of the day, and obviously really, really big news. And then it really keeps going. Yesterday afternoon, again, my mind was kind of out of it yesterday. A lot going on, both personally and with this Tiger story. But Pat Forty with Sports Illustrated with the story on the anonymous letter that the University of Memphis has given to the NCAA about
that
things
the university
going on,
acknowledged.
which is really surprising, probably the most surprising part of the whole story, and that they have given it over to the NCAA. And so, yeah, it hasn't stopped, and it's
The university
continuing
gave
to go.
it credence.
Yeah, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, old newsbreaker Pat got it last night.
About that, yeah. Old Pat Forty, boots
He's
on the
all
ground,
over
getting it done.
When did you see the letter for the first time yesterday, Brian? About 10 hours before that?
Yeah, I would say so. Maybe earlier. Again, not sure when that story was actually published last night, but
And until the university acknowledged it, I wouldn't even go with it. I had it.
No, yeah.
And several did. That's not that important. Let's go back to the oopsie crowd.
Mm-hmm.
The oopsie crowd of, I missed, and it was worth trying, and all shucks. I wish they would go, oops, I missed, and add one more word. Oops, I missed again. Because a lot, if not all, that they were the same ones that helped bulldoze Scott Drew and give us Jolly Josh, who came in with a career record of 0-0 as a head coach, which ultimately led to the coup of Tubby Smith. And to the oops, I missed crowd, I don't think Donna Smith would take it quite as jocularly as they're taking it.
No,
I don't think Sunshine and Daffodils were in the offing for the rest of Tubby Smith's years here. I think he could have at least got out of Jeremiah what Penny got out of him that year. It's no time to debate that.
No.
But I don't think Tubby and Donna Smith would go, well, oops for y'all. And I know their comeback is, well, you got your big payout. But they didn't want the ignominious departure like that.
No.
They didn't want to be treated like that. And a lot of the rest of the coaching world, especially coaches 45, 50 years old and up, insert mean old Rick Barnes here,
sure,
they weren't going to forget that.
And
they weren't just going to hand over college basketball to Penny Hardaway. So that oops, I missed crowd, they missed on that, and then they followed it up, leading the coup for another coach that had a grand total of 0-0 as a college head coach when he came in. So now this last 15 years that of not much, I won't say nothing, but since the last Sweet 16 in 2009, and the loss to Missouri, Mike Anderson and John Calipari, what ultimately was his last game, it hadn't been much because of the oops, I missed again crowd.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really good point. And, I think I think you brought up a really good point because that was kind of the big thing when the university made the decision with Tubby and made the decision to bring in Penny Hardaway was those coaches, media members, people that have been around the game of college basketball for a really long time were very upset about that decision and thought that Tubby Smith Tubby Smith was done wrong. And they felt very strong about that. And so I think now with everything happening now with Tiger basketball and with Penny Hardaway, it almost makes that spotlight even brighter for some of those people that thought way back then this is wrong and were really mad about it to just continue to pile on now. And you've got stories like this that are definitely not good for this basketball program.
No, it's not. And these are going to be really some challenging days.
Yes.
Do I think any firing, any separation of negotiated buyout, do I think it's coming in the next day or two? No, I don't. I think for a lot of reasons, they want to kick it past, I don't know a magical date, but I would say September 20th, September 25th for this reason, as I'm told. Not everywhere start school as early as we do,
sure,
particularly in the South. There are a lot of more northeastern, and even some west, that first day of fall semester or that quarter, whatever they call it, it doesn't start. And I'm going to get my calendar and look. I'm going to say around Monday, September 23rd, sometime at that point.
Sure.
If there was for any reason, a firing or a resignation, negotiated buyout, whatever you want to call it, thanks for the effort, here's some payout, but not all, whatever you want to call it, you got to get past that date later in the month because we know that would be immediate eligibility.
Sure.
I don't know exactly when Georgetown starts school. I'm just using that as an example, and I could be wrong on it. I readily admit that. But let's say somebody like Georgetown, somebody like Providence, they take Dane Danger in 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah. There's several guys on this team.
Come on in, jump in the team.
PJ Haggerty. I mean, come on.
Sure. Yeah. Plenty. And if you had the domino effect, the cascade effect of that, then you have to have the separation. You don't have a team.
Sure.
So you got to wait till at least past you get everybody that's in the college basketball universe, you get some semblance of fall semester started before you can do anything. But something's going to happen before opening night. I don't think there's any chance opening night, November 4th against Missouri, Penny Hardaway will be the coach.
Wow. I mean, that is that's massive. Would be crazy. And I was able to flip you all on the app. Anybody that's going out of town or anything, you still want to listen to this great station, we've got an app, Sports 56 app. You can listen. I was tuned in yesterday when y'all were talking about it to start the show, and I think just how y'all were talking about it and of how big this is. And I think one of y'all said something about how how much is going to change and how quickly things could change and it could get worse. And this could be the start of some really tough days, like you just said, Brett. And I think you're absolutely right. And that was really before this letter came out, the anonymous letter. And I want to go back to that because I was talking to a lot of people yesterday when I could, texting people and different things. What do you think is the reason? Do you think, what in your mind at least, would be the reason that the university would give that credence? Because very easily they could have, if Pat Forty gets on the phone with somebody at the University of Memphis and says, hey, I've seen this anonymous letter. What do you have to say about it? I don't know. What letter are you talking about? Very easily could have done that. Why do you think...
That could be any schmo writing that letter.
Exactly. Why do you think they gave credence to that and let Pat Forty know, we know about this, and not only do we know about this, and it's a legit letter, we have turned it over to the NCAA.
I think they've done a lot of their own critical analysis, self-examination, investigation, and they know there are a lot more stones to be unturned. Interesting. So, wow. I mean, it is a fascinating story all around. Ed Scott walked into one more.
He definitely did. And I think, yesterday before I went out of town, I was helping Zach out with Dave's show in the morning, and we had Jason Munz on, and he said something that I thought was very interesting about how, and obviously Jason Munz, I think is the best when it comes to any information you want with Tiger basketball. Jason Munz is completely tremendous on top of it. Incredible. He made a really good point, and I think, with a lot of beat writers, especially Jason Munz, when he says something, you kind of have to listen into it because he can't give out everything. And he said, I don't think it's a coincidence that Ed Scott officially started his job and we're seeing these staff changes 5-6 weeks later. I think that's kind of what you're saying of the fact that he came in and saw what was going on with this program and said, we've got to do something immediately with what's going on.
I would even suggest for a lot of the people named and maybe even some unnamed, it might be time to lawyer up because it's going to get extremely ugly and a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame game. I think that will be going on. It is just tremendous story that I just so upset that it has come to this.
Yeah, me too.
I was asked today if I thought on the day that Penny Hardaway was hired, would it lead to this? No, I didn't. I didn't think it'd be anything like this. I thought it would be a little, when I say a little more winning, this now kind of looks like a lot more winning. I thought there would be at least a legit run or two that maybe ended in college basketball promised land, the Final Four, but an 8 and a smattering of 16 or so. It just hadn't been much. I said yesterday, Bryant, and I think I've said it pretty consistently since last year ended. It has not been nothing, but it has not been substantial.
Sure.
And I don't think anybody saw where any corner is going to be turned on any substance, on any deep runs. Maybe not even with this team this year. That some are saying in kind of a normal year that this team could be pretty good. I don't know that. I think I've seen enough to know that probably wouldn't happen. But I'd play the hope game, and especially with any kind of start like last year started. But I also saw how last year finished.
No, you're absolutely right. And what conference play was last year was really just, completely different, honestly, than what non-conference was. And I think it's, the point you were making earlier to kind of start the show about maybe timing on things, this roster. It should be noted, and I know this has been out there, so I do not feel any, I'm not worried about also talking about this. But, Rick Stansberry did the bulk of the recruiting for this entire roster that is put together. And so, it's, you talk about trying to timing, keep this thing together. If some guys are still there and they feel like they're forced to be there, you kind of get into the type of, are they really going to get out there and play like they want to be out there? I mean, it's a really difficult situation any way you look at it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brian. And then there's this date. Okay, we get past everybody starting fall classes or first, whatever it is.
Sure.
Everybody's, and nobody can go anywhere with any immediacy with a coaching change. Then you get to an interim that I think the interim will be Rick Stansberry. You get to that point, you start the year. We know the meat grinder non-conference schedule, however it goes. Then you get to Christmas break, and we know a lot of people decide, this isn't for me. Let me get out now. I can set out next semester, start next year, hail and hearty somewhere else. You're going to have that point.
No, you definitely are. So it's some really, really wild stuff going on with this basketball program. If anybody did miss the story from Pat Forty or this anonymous letter that everyone's been talking about, I'll just read this quick blip from the story from Pat Forty before we move on. The letter alleges Hardaway's personal involvement in what could be major violations in the recruitment of a player who came to Memphis and a second prospect who did not enroll at the school. The letter claims those violations occurred in 2020 and 2022. It also alleges academic violations occurred in the 23-24 school year. The allegations in the letter have not been independently substantiated. And we know, obviously, the Malcolm Dandridge situation.
Academic stuff's the big one.
That's definitely a big one. A lot of really interesting stuff in that letter about academic-wise.
I probably should do this off there. I'm going to do it on there. We're not going to do it right now, whatever you think. Do you think there's anybody out there that hadn't read or seen the letter in any public forum? Do you think they would want it read?
Yeah,
would that be
that's a great question.
Necessary for us to do? It's long.
It's long, and that's a good question because and Brett,
I don't know how great a radio it'd be.
That's a good point, and this is really me ignorance and also lack of I'll just be honest, preparation because of me being on the road yesterday and today. I've kind of stayed clear of it because I don't know if it's out there in terms of publicly where it's not just being passed around, and I don't want to be that one of
well, I wasn't going to do it yesterday because the university had not acknowledged
Now that they've acknowledged it.
And so with that acknowledgement, I think it is in the public forum.
Yeah.
And we'll get your feedback.
Sure.
Sissy's Log Cabin text line 901-360-8255. Do you want it read verbatim? If you do, I guess we'll do it about 5:30 because we got a lot of guests. We got other stuff we're going to do today. We know the gravity of this, and we'll touch on it a lot. Definitely. But we are going to do other things.
No, we definitely are. But yes, if you want to hear it, definitely text into the Sissy's Log Cabin text line, and we'll probably do that around 5:30. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day, because like Brett said, we've got a busy show and a lot of things to tackle over these next 3 hours. 3:30, Bill Bender from the Sporting News will join us to talk some college football. We'll recap some of the big games in Week 1 and get to previewing Week 2, where there's some really fun games, and he'll be up at Michigan, Texas this weekend, so we'll definitely have to get his thoughts on that, what he wants to see in that big-time matchup. 3:45, we'll talk some Major League Baseball as the season continues to roll along, and we're getting real close. Got to keep an eye pretty much every day on what those wild card standings look like for Major League Baseball. 4 o'clock, Keith Smith from Spot Track and the Front Office Show will join us to talk the NBA, as a lot of little news and kind of big news out there in the NBA. We got to get his thoughts on Gigi Jackson. It sounds like he'll be reevaluated in 3 months after he had successful surgery yesterday. So we'll get his thoughts on that, what that means for this Grizzlies team. 4:30, Doug Kazarian, who was with ESPN for a long time. He's now doing his own thing out in Las Vegas with Wager Watch and OnlyPlayers.com. So we'll get him on, talk a lot of handicapping. Obviously, NFL back tonight with Thursday Night Football. We'll get his thoughts on that game. Tomorrow night, the NFL's in Brazil. So we'll get his thoughts on that, as well as some of the other big games in the football world over the weekend. So really excited to talk to Doug at 4:30. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Greg Gaston will join us. As you all know, we always talk Tigers with Greg Gaston, 5 o'clock on Thursday. And
won't be a full breakdown of the UNA game.
No, it will not. It will be the rare September Thursday where football is not the driving force in that conversation, with just how big of a story with Tiger basketball going on right now. So we'll talk a lot of Tigers at 5 o'clock with Greg Gaston and get his full thoughts on everything that's happened over these last 2 days. 5:30, we'll talk about what's trending, and at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're always in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there right now for the world's biggest spa sale going on right now at Family Leisure. Save thousands on in-stock hot tubs ready for delivery. Spas starting at $28.99. Cold plunges starting at $39.99. Swim spas starting at $17,499. Special financing, it's available, and huge discounts on all in-stock above-ground pools. They've got it there too at Family Leisure. And all patio furniture, it's priced to move. So head out to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
He's Brian. I'm Brett. We're Sportstime. We're with you till 6 o'clock, and we want you to be a big part of our show by texting or calling 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear on the same line, 901-360-8255 on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. As always, in our Family Leisure Studios, and as always, this hour brought to you by the good people at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2024 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2024 flagship LS500. 2025 is going to be here soon, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be Tiger basketball and what is going on. Not only a local story, but a national story, not only in the college basketball world, but in the entire sports world. I heard y'all talking about it yesterday, and Darian said that on ESPN it had been, one of the big headlines that pretty much every show was talking about throughout the day. That's how big this story is, and it feels like it's only growing, which is a bad thing for the Tigers. It's a quote, Brett, that I have stolen from you about different things. And in this case, anytime Tiger basketball is talked about this big in September, it's usually not a great thing. The good stuff, the hype, that all comes in the summer months. If there's a big Tiger basketball story in September, to me, that doesn't feel like it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's not signing Shaquille O'Neal.
No, not at all. And this definitely isn't. It started a couple nights ago when the news came out that Penny was going to shake things up with his staff, and we learned yesterday morning that 4 members of his staff would no longer be a part of it, including his lead assistant, Rick Stansberry. And you talk about a coach making the decision to fire 4 of his assistants, staff members, 2 months before the start of the regular season. I mean, that's like firing staff a week before a massive meeting. I mean, that is unheard of in the college basketball world, and just
I don't ever remember.
I was asking people yesterday and was curious and was looking it up, like, has this ever happened when it hasn't been massive blow up, explosion, really bad stuff? And I really couldn't find anything. And so that was the massive news of all of this change. What does it mean? Why was it happening? What's behind it? And now we've learned even more, the anonymous letter that's been going around the past couple of days, the past week or so.
To whom it may concern.
Exactly.
It concerns a lot of people.
It concerns a ton,
concerns
a whole
me.
program, a whole city, that is. And, Brett, like you mentioned, we were talking about that letter yesterday morning, and then obviously Pat Forty came out last night with the story that made it the big national news. But I think the biggest news of it was the fact that when Pat Forty got on and got a hold of whoever he got a hold of in the university, that they said, yeah, that's a letter that we've gotten, we've received it, and it's real, and we've turned it over to the NCAA. That spoke volumes to me, because we just talked about it. Very easily, the university could have said, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't know a letter. Anonymous, please. Anybody could have done that. Get out of here with that. And shut it down.
Serious inquiries only.
Exactly. Completely shut it down. They didn't do that. They did the opposite, and that, I thought, was the biggest part of it.
My top story, now the anonymous letter. What time yesterday, Bryant, did we have that letter? Now, newspaper man, investigative reporter Pat Forty with the big breaking story, and the university acknowledged it. The slow burn really begins. Sadly, I feel like the Wichita State loss back at the AAC tournament at Dickies Arena will be the last game that Penny Hardaway ever coached for the University of Memphis. Any part of that anonymous letter, if it's accurate, but especially the academic stuff, nobody survives.
No, that is, it was a letter. And again, if you want us to read it, hit up the Sissy's Log Cabin text line, and we'll try to get to that at about 5:30.
Not top story of the day.
Well, let's change gears and talk about something a little positive, because we got Thursday night football back in our lives.
We got the NBC music intro tonight.
Oh, man, I can't wait for it. The NFL is back. I know so many people are excited, and especially for this matchup tonight. You've got the Chiefs and what the dynasty they've built coming off their Super Bowl win, going up against a Ravens team that I think a lot of people have high hopes for. You've got Lamar Jackson and what he's done. Now, playoffs is a different story, but you bring in Derrick Henry, the big running back, who a lot of people here locally have come to love with his time, not only at Alabama for our
8
SEC
years with
fans,
the
but with the Titans, exactly. And so
top three back in Titan history with Eddie George and Earl Campbell.
Incredible company to be in. But yes, and so, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what that offense looks like. But Brett, it's not all sunshine and roses in Chiefs country, because, man, our buddy, the Chiefs super fan, 17 and a half years. Chiefsaholic. 17 and a half years for that string of bank robberies.
Well, he got on a roll, didn't he?
I mean, what in the world was that story?
I warn people all the time, you don't want to be a part of the act as bad as you think you do.
No.
Now, I don't know if being part of the act made him rob banks.
Holy cow.
And wag a gun in people's faces.
Yeah, honestly. Now, Chiefsaholic, do you think they let him take the get-up into the pen with him? Can he dress up on game days like he did at Arrowhead? No?
I think they have a get-up for you every day.
Well, yeah, that's too bad.
I don't want to find it out.
No.
My not top story, it begins tonight in Kansas City, and it'll end in Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans on February 9th. Will Kansas City be going for the first three-peat in NFL Super Bowl era history? A league that is set up for no dynasty always seems to have a dynasty, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, leaders of this dynasty. Tonight versus Mr. Regular Season, Lamar Jackson, 2 MVPs, only 2 playoff wins. Kind of the opposite of Patrick Mahomes. 2 MVPs, 15-3 in the postseason.
It's incredible. What a crazy number. 15-3? That's crazy. But hey, that's just how good he is.
Was Johnny Manziel on an NFL roster for 15 games?
That's a great question, Brett. Maybe if you lump in his time with the Express, then maybe he could get there. But that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break, and when we come back, we're talking some college football with Bill Bender.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
If you love sports and Mexican food, you can get the best of both at Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill on Summer near Graham. Watch all the big games on all the big TVs on all the walls at Los Cabos. And enjoy premium tequila shots anytime for just $5.50. Celebrate every day with lunch specials from 10 to 3 and happy hour from 3 to 8. Lunch is just $6.75 to $10.99 and margaritas start at $4.99. Experience real Mexican cuisine along with great sports at Los Cabos on Summer near Graham. If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
You know, sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Winton Road.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is an ACUSA church located in town Memphis.
Joining Brian and Brett now on Sportstime is Bill Bender, National College Football writer for the Sporting News, and on Twitter X at Bill Bender. Here's Bill with Brian and Brett.
Bill Bender joins us now from the Sporting News to talk some college football. Bill, thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get into. Week 1 was a lot of fun last week. Week 2, really excited about some of these matchups. But I want to start off with a team we discussed last week, Florida State, preseason number 10 in the AP poll, now sitting at 0-2 and also 0-2 in conference play because both their first 2 games were conference matchups. What have you seen with this team over the first 2 weeks? I know DJU has gotten a lot of heat for his play these first 2 games. What's the issue with this Florida State team to start the year?
They have a lot of holes that they filled with the transfer portal, and that's not all on DJU. He's struggling, certainly, but drop passes, missed assignments, so blocking, playing into their opponent's hands. I mean, though I was actually more impressed with BC than I was with, disappointed in Florida State. And look, I told you guys last week, I picked Florida State to win the ACC. Sometimes you do that on roster, and I hold myself accountable for picks like that. I'm not afraid to admit it, but I'm not the only one that took them to win the ACC.
Bill, it makes me more impressed with Dabo Swinney winning 10 games with DJU.
Well, I just think, here's the thing. I think Clemson knew who he was, right? Like, if you let your quarterback throw the ball down the field, you got to accept that he's going to make some mistakes. I actually thought he's one of those guys that just hasn't, I think you use the term regressed, I suppose, but it just hasn't worked out for him since he left Clemson. He was just okay last year at Oregon State. He's probably going to be just okay for the remainder of the year. It is truly bizarre State sitting here on, what's the date? The 12th? September 12th. And,
No, the 5th. 5th. You're a week ahead, Bill. It's the 5th.
Already a week ahead. I was looking at next week.
That's
so,
okay.
I'm like already into week 3 prep. So, September 5th, and they're probably not going to go to the college football playoff.
Bill, if you did it this week, please forgive me for missing because I read everything you put out. Are you going to do a week-to-week college football bracket?
Yeah, we did. We put that out on Tuesday morning, first thing, and we'll have that first thing every Sunday, and I think that's going to become a staple for a lot of places. I know Heather Dinich does it for ESPN, does a fantastic job for them, and, we'll have our spin on it. I know Ralph Russo has a bracket every week, and for me, it's fun to compare notes, so to speak, because we are going to talk more about 9, 10, 11, 12, comparable to what we do during basketball season with the bubble. And a game like LSU and USC is the reason why that's exciting.
With what has already happened, with Notre Dame defeating Texas A&M and LSU losing to USC, if they go on and have the year they should have, Notre Dame, don't you think it's already knocked out any slim hope of SEC with 5, that it's 4 aspirationally now at best?
That's a good point because, the middle-class losses, so to speak. I mean, I had somebody point out to me today that I didn't even – it kind of went over my head because of the quick transition of the week that the SEC was 1-3 against ranked teams last week. Well, that's not good. But it also was
it's
the
not.
Teams the teams that played. LSU loses by 1 score. Texas loses by 10 at home. Florida gets walloped at home. And then Georgia, of course. But it's like, okay, which one matters the most? I mean, heavyweight did smack Clemson down pretty good, which leads me to my next point is that NC State, Tennessee, and Texas, Michigan, those are probably more big games for the SEC than anything else.
It's really big games, and you will be at one of those games. You will be in Ann Arbor. Please tell me we're not rolling out any uniform looks to appeal to a 13-year-old at the team store. Just give me Texas and the road whitey whites, and give me Michigan and the home maize and blue.
White on white, maize on blue. They did this 20 years ago at the Rose Bowl, and it's going to look awesome. I'm excited. I'll be heading up there tomorrow. Not many people giving the Wolverines a chance in this one, and I would be cautious to do that because it is at home. Their defense is nasty. They're going to need to figure out what they want to do with the quarterbacks. And, my humble suggestion would be give Alex Orji some more run and just run the ball. Just try to run the ball like you did late in the game against Fresno last week. Now, can they slow down? They're going to need a couple turnovers in this one to have a chance to win. They're going to need Texas to be sloppy, and you know what? That's possible. I was saying all week, Brett, when did Texas become big game Texas? Does it only take one win against Alabama to get
They're
that
back.
win? Of course.
They're back. And when did I get so soft-hearted and looking at Texas kind of as one of ours when they put that SEC logo on that field?
Of course.
It all changed then. Bill Bender with us on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. He's from the Sporting News, and he will be in Ann Arbor at the Big House high above that famed place, that cathedral of college football, watching Texas and Michigan. For Michigan to win the game, Bill, I feel like they got to win it 20-17, 17-16, something like that. I don't think they can win it up in the 38-35. And that's what that Rose Bowl game was like when they played.
Yeah, and that Rose Bowl game, I was going back watching some of it. It was Michigan went right at them. They had Braylon Edwards at the time, and they don't have a Braylon Edwards right now. Texas, that was kind of the Vince Young legend game. And one thing that I anticipate happening early in this game, and just based off what Texas did against Alabama the last couple of years, they're going to take a deep shot early, right away, especially if they're on offense first. They'll probably try to shoot one down the field, take that crowd out of it. For Michigan, they can't turn the ball over. I don't think their opener was as bad as people are making it out to be. And one stat that I keep pointing to that could show up in this game, they allowed 9 rushing yards last weekend, 9 on 22 attempts. Their run defense is as good as any I've ever seen. Texas is going to throw it around. Can they hold up against Quinn Ewers and those receivers? That's going to be the big question.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for that matchup. I know a matchup a lot of people here locally are very excited about has got to be that Tennessee-NC State game that you've already mentioned on ABC Saturday night. We all got our first look of Nico as the starting quarterback. I know he started in the bowl game, but game one of his first season as the true starter. Now they'll go up against that NC State team, an NC State team that kind of struggled a little bit in their first game against an FCS opponent. What do you expect to see in this one, and what did you think of Nico in his first game last week against Chattanooga?
I mean, they had 700 yards, and he set a record for most yards and a half by a quarterback. He's impressive. They're impressive. They're going to be a pain, and they could snag a playoff spot. This is a big game for them. I think it's the introduction to people that didn't watch the bowl game last year and didn't watch them against Chattanooga last week. They're going to find out that he's pretty darn good. And they're starting to – they already do look like the team that won a bunch of games 2 years ago and was a factor in the playoff race. And in this scenario, they'd be in the playoffs. So I have nothing but good things to say about Tennessee. I think we're probably off the radar a little bit on this NC State team, and some of that's based on how bad they looked early in the game.
One of the fun aspects of the playoff format that we have this year in college football, I think we'll have going forward, we know we'll have it next year, still to be decided in the out years, but used to, in these type of games locally, Memphis fans would be pulling for kind of someone in their peer group. App State playing at Death Valley against Clemson, and Boise State playing at Outson against Oregon. Not anymore. Go Oregon, go Clemson, because the peer group the Tigers have to be on top of includes App State and Boise State now.
That's a great point. And, I think for Boise State this weekend, this big shootout against Oregon, where it ought to be a little fun. Oregon was a little clunky last weekend at times. App going to Clemson, and I didn't even think about that either because, these G5 schools have a chance to do something special this year. Memphis will get their opportunity next weekend, Florida State. So you score that big win, you take care of business. Or if you look good, like for Boise, I think part of it is, hey, they could go 11-1, but if they play Oregon tough here, and Ashton Gienti, by the way, 6 touchdowns last week, he's good. He's really good. And if they can hang, that's part of it too, right? Because I think one thing we're forgetting is, Brett, these G5 schools, we may have a case where none of them go undefeated, and then you're kind of like, okay, which one is the best?
Beauty contest.
Yeah, it's kind of a hidden beauty contest in this playoff race.
And it's why when they get one like Memphis against UNA last week and others, and it's not just Memphis, you got to pound those teams.
Right. And Memphis took care of its business last week. And, I know Boise State made a lot of attention, but their defense wasn't real great. And then, obviously you guys know I'm a MAC guy. I don't know that we'll get a G5 playoff team out of the MAC this year because of the balance of the conference, but really going to have my eyes on App against Clemson, coming off that Clemson loss. And that Boise game's late at night. But you know me, I'm going to stay up and watch.
That's right. Well, a busy Saturday as always for you. Thanks so much for joining us, Bill. Enjoy the Big House this weekend, and we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, what did you guys think? I got Texas 27, Michigan 24.
I have Texas winning. I'm digging at my score. We're doing this tomorrow at 5:30. I'm giving it away now. I have Texas winning 31-10.
Holy cow.
Oh, Brett.
Wow.
If you're right, we'll have a great conversation next week. Thanks so much, guys.
We will, Bill. Be safe. Thanks, man.
Wow, Brett. Just throw it out there like that.
Kind of gave it away for tomorrow at 5:30.
Oh, holy cow. I mean, I think
stay tuned. Other picks just like that tomorrow at 5:30.
Brett, it might still be as surprising tomorrow when you say it. That blew me away.
I've already been accused. Boy, you really speak of Texas differently now than you used to.
Brett,
I'm guilty.
Brett, you brought that up with Bill, and I thought it was a good point because all I heard in the summer was, hey, Texas, Oklahoma, back of the line, you're new to that scene. And now it's, it's like our come-together week weekend in the NFL on television.
We need you now.
Everybody come together. We're all one big family here in the SEC. Oh, man. Good stuff with Bill, as always, of course, from the Sporting News. He'll have a fun time this weekend with that Michigan and Texas matchup. Should be a really fun one, unless you are like Brett and think it's going to be an absolute blowout by Texas. Then it might not be that much of a game. But let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some Major League Baseball.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. And one of those cold plunges, you can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure, with and run at I-40. Family and fun come together.
Spencer here with ATC Fitness. There's no better time of the year than now. Football and fitness go hand in hand in the fall. And with individual screens on each piece of cardio and multiple big screens throughout the rest of the club, you'll never miss a bit of the action watching your favorite team. ATC Fitness continues to be the Mid-South's choice for fitness, family-owned for 30 years, and proud supporters of Coach Silverfield and the Memphis Tigers. Join online at atcfitness.com. ATC Fitness. Exercise your right to look good.
These statements have not been reviewed by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Do these three words make you cringe? Calcium oxalate stones. If so, then this message will be a huge relief, because now there's a kidney health supplement that has shown in laboratory tests to reduce the rate of calcium oxalate crystal growth by 99%. That's right, 99%. It's called Kidney Cop, Calcium Oxalate Protector, and nothing else comes close to its success. In fact, it has a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Kidney Cop is so innovative, it's been awarded 5 U.S. patents, is recommended by doctors and pharmacists, and is winning rave reviews from people all over the country. You can be one of them. Kidney Cop is super affordable. You can purchase affordable Kidney Cop today by visiting Amazon.com, Walmart.com, or KidneyCop.com. If you cringe when you hear the words calcium oxalate and you worry about reoccurrence, then you need Kidney Cop right away. Purchase Kidney Cop today at Amazon.com, Walmart.com, or KidneyCop.com.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's off Highway 64 in Bartlett, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stack Snoresworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back in to Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we've got a couple minutes left in this hour, and we're going to talk some Major League Baseball. But Brett, you said you had a story you wanted to share, so let's start with that.
One of my favorite season bets I have with a friend. So everybody sensing that thaw and kind of me being a homer about Texas now in the SEC, it is to my advantage. Yeah, it does. It is to my advantage for Texas to lose because it's a fun bet I have. It's low stakes. It's just go out to eat. And go to the world famous rendezvous and eat. That's what we're going to do. And the bet is simply this. No matter what, whether you go to SEC championship game, you don't make the college football playoffs, you go deep in the college football playoffs, and we could tie the most wins. This is a Texas fan. He's got Texas. I have Ole Miss.
I like it. Just head-to-head. Who has the most wins?
Who's got the most wins?
Wow.
And, if one of the two didn't make the playoffs and the other one did, it would almost be impossible for that other side not to be the winner.
Wow, I like that. That's a good bet. One that I've actually never thought about, but would
With
be
the
a
playoffs,
really fun one. Yeah, with the playoffs, if you got a buddy that's a fan of another team, and just put some money up.
What if both make the playoffs and are this scenario? Texas makes the SEC championship game at 11-1, like I think they will.
Sure.
They lose, so they have 11 wins.
Right.
Ole Miss goes 11-1, but doesn't make the SEC championship game. So you go into the playoffs with both of them at 11. Texas lose first round. Ole Miss win on campus first round. 12 beats 11.
How about that? So I like that.
It could go the other way.
It definitely could, but I like where your head's at, Brett. That's a fun little bet to put out there.
Yesterday in baseball, what you think of as the whole day played out? And can you believe the Cardinals have put Judge in a slump?
How about that? Yeah, no, Judge has certainly been struggling, and not something I thought we would ever be talking about. I mean, I thought a good day of baseball, an interesting day of baseball, to say the least, with some of the scores that you look up and see. Cubs, the pitching was good.
Real good, no hitter.
They want to call it a no hitter. I say if you got more than one pitcher throwing the ball, that's not a no hitter. I don't know what you call it. Not a no hitter in my book.
I don't count. I don't count it. And it was the first no hitter for the Cubs, if you call it that, at home at Wrigley since 1972. They've had no hitters on the road. Jake Arrieta, pretty recently, I know, did it on the road, but first time since 72 when Milt Pappas pitched the no hitter on the north side. I don't really remember Milt Pappas with the Cubs. I know I've got baseball cards of him with the Orioles and the Braves.
Yeah, no. So certainly have gotten him away from Wrigley, but last night,
I want to say on the back of one of those Oriole cards for Milt Pappas, because it stood out back in the day. I think he won about 20 games as a 19 or 20-year-old.
Holy cow! Really?
Way back then, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So that was fun last night for the Cubs. Shota Imanaga, he was the starter, did a lot of the heavy lifting for the Cubs in that no-hit bid.
Are the Cubs
awesome.
in this? Are they vying for that last National League wild card right now? 5 games back in the all-important loss column, trailing the Braves.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think, really early in the season, certainly before the season, that was kind of like the, sneaky, trendy pick of the Cubs, new manager and some new pieces in there, get ready, look out. And then the season started and it didn't play out like that, but now
kind of the reverse of last year. They're finishing strong.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And last year they just collapsed.
Yeah, so I mean, would still need a big push, but 7-3 in their last
if the Cubs
games.
are in it, the Cardinals are in it, because Cardinals only trail the Cubs by 1 game.
Sure.
Cardinals aren't in it.
The Cardinals aren't in it. So that means the Cubs aren't in it. Yes. But no, you look at some of the scores yesterday, and you had some big numbers. A lot of runs scored all over the place. And some kind of questionable. I mean, you've got the 2 games that really jumped out to me. White Sox get an 8-1 win over Baltimore, where the White Sox had 15 hits on the road, and then you had the Angels with a 10-1 win over the Dodgers. So I mean, there were definitely some interesting results yesterday.
Yeah, and off day for the Cardinals. They face Seattle at home at Busch Stadium this weekend, next to last homestand of the year in St. Louis for the Cardinals. For the Mets, though, they're right there, and that's the only intrigue of in or out is I think is Mets Braves. Yeah. Everybody else, the intrigue is seeding, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels
around
like
baseball, including the Yankees, who you look at the standings right now. They're in the 4th spot.
That's right. How about that? And that's just how competitive that division has been. With those top 2 teams, and so I think like you said, I mean, you look in the AL and outside of the wild card, the closest team's 5.5 games out. In the NL, like you said, Braves, Mets, but other than that, Cubs 4.5 games, Cardinals 5.5 games back. That's a lot of work to have to do this late. So it feels like we've kind of gotten down to the point where a lot can happen in terms of seeding in there, but it doesn't feel like there's going to be that team that comes out of nowhere and gets a wild card spot.
when the White Sox lose that game to know they're not going to top the 62 Mets, and I said yesterday, and they won yesterday, I said yesterday I think they're going to set a record of futility that will never get touched.
Yeah.
Around 35, 36, 37 wins. But when they know they can't top Casey Stengel's expansion Mets, I know they're not going to have a champagne celebration. Just break out the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Go straight to the brown water, don't you?
I think so. Yeah.
Right out of the jug, too. Just pass the bottle around like in an old Western.
Yes. I think,
here, you take a hit off of it.
Yes. I think it'd be a wild night, to say the least, for in Chicago.
No cameras, no media there.
No, certainly not.
Just go straight to the hard stuff.
Just get her done, as you would say. No, it's not a good year for them.
A lot of people are already saying they don't think they will be that much better next year.
No. I mean, it's.
I don't know how we can pick next year. This year hadn't even ended, but some are saying that.
It's a good point. But yeah, I mean, this roster's not very good. Their minor league system's not very good, and I mean, you can make those offseason moves, but we really haven't.
And Jerry
seen
Reinsdorf doesn't care.
That. Exactly, and I think that's kind of what it all boils down to. We can tell you what the White Sox are going to be this year, next year, the year after, until something happens at the very, very top.
He's going to start playing the new stadium game. Did you see the 76ers threatening to move to Newark in 2031?
How about that? Tell me where you're going to be in 2031. I mean, good Lord.
If I'm Philly taxpayers, Philly people, don't let the door hit you.
Yeah, that's. That's
you bluffing me for 2031.
Yeah, I mean that feels like the new hip thing to do with professional teams is to
everybody's doing it.
Exactly. Oh, we're just going to move down the road. We're going to go to this suburb or whatever.
Give it about 2 more years, and you're going to hear it in St. Louis. For new stadium or massive upgrades.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's just the thing to do right now is, we'll go here, we'll go there. We're going to build a new stadium over here. It feels like the only 2 teams that haven't done that have been the Bills and the Titans. They just got the stadium done. They said, we're going to just build it in the parking lot and just move right over there. But everyone else, it feels like, that talk has been a new place.
I think the person in charge of the construction for the Titans, is Mark Lamping, who was front office exec that built New Busch Stadium when he was with the Cardinals, came out of the brewery as an attorney. I think he's leading a new stadium somewhere if it's not Tennessee.
Wow. So, yeah.
He's building expert.
Well, interesting. Well, that's interesting news about the 76ers. I saw that earlier, and will definitely be an interesting topic that we can talk about with our next guest, because when we come back to start our 4 o'clock hour, Keith Smith from Spot Track and the Front Office Show, he'll join us to talk the NBA. That's next on Sports Time.
Specifically to show
some of the best roof systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me.
Join Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and me for the opening night kickoff of the new NFL season from Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes and the back-to-back Super Bowl champion Chiefs take on MVP Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. It's a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Don't miss any of the action on NFL Kickoff.
Right here on Sports 56.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
And when you sleep cooler, Sleep Number does that. It cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Sports fans, let's talk stats. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and of those men, many will experience bladder leaks. That's why Depend is partnering with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage getting screened. Because if caught early, prostate cancer is up to 99% treatable. I like those odds. Depend is also donating to prostate cancer research for select purchases now through November. Learn more at Depend.com. From September through November, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation. For Depend Shields, guards, real fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000.
Need good food fast? You need 901 Eats to Go in Bartlett. Meat in 2 sides. Chicken wings and tenders, cheeseburgers, Philly cheesesteak, even catfish, plus sides and drinks. 901 Eats to Go has everything you want when you want it at prices you can afford. Call 901-417-8232. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. That's Eats with a Z. Delicious and convenient. 901 Eats to Go. 3135 Kirby Wooden Road in Bartlett. Good food fast.
Calling all Memphis Tiger fans, the Liza's Light University of Memphis Soccer and Track Stadium Fund needs your support. In memory of Liza Fletcher, we're building a state-of-the-art stadium to provide our student athletes with the top-notch facilities they deserve. Help us reach our Phase 1 goal of $7 million and make a true impact for this community. Let your light shine. Visit lizaslight.org and donate now.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Time to talk NBA with Keith Smith from Spot Rack and the Front Office Show, and on Twitter X at Keith Smith NBA. Here's Keith Smith talking basketball with Bryant and Brett.
Keith Smith joins us now from Spot Track and the Front Office Show to talk the NBA, and a lot of news out there in the NBA world as really camp's getting ready to start back up, preseason games just around the corner, and before we know it, we'll have regular season NBA basketball. But Keith, here locally, the big story over the last 4 or 5 days, last week or so, has been the news about G.G. Jackson's foot injury. He had surgery on it yesterday, and it sounds like from the Grizzlies, he'll be reevaluated in 3 months. So out at least 3 months is what it looks like right now. What do you think this means for this Grizzlies team, considering, for the most part, we think they'll be back to completely fully healthy, unlike what we saw for pretty much the entire season last year?
Yeah, I mean, we hope, right? They want to say they had like 33 guys play in games last year, and that's just ridiculous. And this is not how you want to start things off roughly a month before training camp. But, you know, if there's a silver lining, it's that it happened this early, and G.G. Jackson's going to miss, my guess is probably a month and a half of the season or so, and then maybe can get back. So that's what we're hoping for. And I think with G.G. Jackson, the unfortunate part for him is there was a real chance to be maybe a rotation player coming out of the gate, and now you're going to be behind the 8 ball starting for a Memphis team that's hoping to get back into contention level. They may not have the minutes to give him, moving forward. So it's probably going to be another development season, but he's a very young player, so that's not the end of the world.
And Keith, it's almost like with last year, it had to be rushed, him playing because of all the injuries. Now his injury, it feels like it's going to recalibrate to about the right usage time for him.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, if we were looking at it a year ago, he was on a two-way contract, very much a developmental type guy. And then he played so well that the Grizzlies were like, all right, let's get him converted. And then they were able to give him all the minutes he could really handle. And you saw some of the stuff, why he ended up having to take that pass in the first place. He's not the most efficient guy, didn't always take the best shots. But these are all things young players learn and figure out. And now he's going to be a little bit behind. But again, you miss a month and a half, not the end of the world. You get back out there, probably sometime mid-December or so, and just figure it out from there. And the other good thing for Memphis is you've got some depth now at that position. Jake LaRavia played better down the stretch. Vince Williams Jr. was one heck of a find. You're going to have Marcus Smart back in the fold, so they've got some options that they can go to.
Absolutely. Keith, I completely blew the intro for you because, I know we want to talk basketball, but we got to talk about your Boston College, your alma mater, BC, with the big win over Florida State.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible, and for me here, I'm a DirecTV guy, and they've got their dispute going on with ESPN. So let me say, I just had to find other means to watch the game, and it was a lot of fun. Getting the Bill O'Brien era off to a completely different kind of start. Really excited to see what they can be. That was probably the biggest win they've had since they upset USC about a decade ago or so, and that was really fun. So. We're off to a good start now. Now they're going to take down mighty Duquesne this weekend and keep the good times rolling.
Keith, we talked about this on Tuesday after the Monday night game. I had the same issue with DirecTV. I went to the BC home network and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was one
Radio
of those things where for me with BC, it's been I've kind of owned like, all right, they're going to be good every 5-6 years. They'll have a really nice season, and maybe we'll go. And then I must have to dream a little bit. I get a little hopeful that all right, maybe this is the guy. This coach is going to be here for a while and get him kind of going. And I think maybe with Bill O'Brien, because he's a local guy, his wife's a BC alum. Maybe he will be around for a while. And I think he's a really good coach, and I think he's does okay in the college game with the recruiting and all that. So hopefully they will get it together and figure it out.
All right, you'll know this, and we've gone full Boston sports here, and I want you to help us with this. So, who gets the credit other than himself? Is it Charlie Weiss? Is it Bill O'Brien? Is it Josh McDaniels? Is it Bill Belichick? Who gets the credit for Tom Brady?
That's a good question. I mean, first it's Tom Brady, right? I think we give him the bulk of it, and then I would say probably the one consistent through line in that is probably Bill Belichick. They talked a lot about how they used to have weekly meetings, just the two of them, where they would sit down and go through a lot of stuff. And, wasn't just, hey, what plays do you like? It was, this is kind of how we want to manage this game and all those things. And I always think back to, they had a game to open the season against the Steelers. It was early in the run when Brady was just kind of growing into what he was. He wasn't so much a game manager, starting to figure it out. And they came out, and I think they threw the ball on something like the first 28 plays. And that, to me, was when they were like, okay, here we are. We've really got something now. This may be sustainable for years and years to come. And, it's, as a sports fan, especially a kid who grew up on a Patriots team when it was pretty good if they went 7-9 and didn't lose 10 games in the season, to have that 20-year run that we had with those two, I'll never forget it. It's one of the most special things in my life as a sports fan. But, yeah, it was something else.
Yeah, that was a really good win and really impressive by Boston College, and I love their quarterback. He's so much fun to watch. But getting back to the NBA, some of the other news we got last week, T.J. McConnell receives a 4-year, $45 million extension with the Pacers. Really like T.J. and his game, what he did in the postseason for that Pacers team. He was a massive piece for them. What did you think of this extension? Kind of, I guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, kind of late in the off season to be talking extensions.
Yeah, no, it certainly is, especially not one of those ones that they you've got to get done before the start of the season ones. Those ones, sure, we're going to see some more rookie scale extension done. You're going to see maybe a couple more veteran guys who have a few years left on their contract get done but TJ McConnell was on an expiring deal. Those can get extended all the way through the end of the season, all the way through the end of the league year on June 30th. You can extend those guys. I really like TJ McConnell. I don't mind the contract. It's just a little weird for that Pacers team to be that invested in one position, meaning you've got Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, now TJ McConnell, all making, a lot of money, $10 million plus in that spot. And what your challenge is there is that's a Pacers team that is historically, they are an attack team. They've only paid the luxury tax a couple times in the franchise history, never that deep into it. And now with a guy like McConnell, that's a lot of money invested in a backup. You invested an awful lot of money in Obi Toppin, who's going to be playing behind Pascal Siakam. And depth sounds great until all of a sudden it's next summer, Miles Turner's a free agent. And if you're at all come up with, we don't know if we have the money for Miles Turner, that's where it gets tricky. So good player, good contract, just a little bit weird for a Pacers team that I think should have had some other priorities, both short and long term, on their mind.
Keith, right as we were going to the top of the hour break, we were talking about around sports. There are a lot of interest in people building new stadiums, new arenas, new ballparks. And this week, the 76ers insinuated or started to threaten that they could go to Newark or to New Jersey in 2031. And I said, if I'm the Philadelphia taxpayer, I tell them don't let the door hit you. And I got a tweet from somebody who said, well, you didn't say that here about the Grizzlies. And the reason I want to go into that, because the reason why I didn't say that here's the big difference. In Philadelphia, you've got all four major professional sports represented. We have one in Memphis. In Philadelphia, you also have Big Five basketball led by Villanova, and the total number of teams that you could go out every night and see it there is different from here. What do you think Philadelphia should say to the 76ers threatening a 2031 move?
Yeah, there's part of me that gets the whole idea of we as taxpayers should not be paying for billionaires' stadiums. Now, when you start talking about it's a half a penny tax or whatever on going out to eat or whatever it is, then I'm not probably going to feel that. So sure, why not? But I think one of the challenges that we also run into, for me, that becomes a very oversimplified answer to say we shouldn't pay for it, because it does add a lot to the community as far as how much money those teams bring in. You're talking somewhere between 40 and 50 nights a year. You've got a professional sports team in your downtown arena that's bringing in a lot of money for all the things around the arena, not to mention all the people who work in the arena itself that have jobs generally because of that. Now, you still have the arena, and you probably have some other events there, but that's a guaranteed, 50 nights a year or so, you're going to have something going on. So I think we just, we want to be a little bit careful, but for the most part, yeah, I don't blame people. Now, for Philadelphia, it's a lot of bluster. Let's face it; they're an institution there. They're not moving, to New Jersey. Like I know they can say all the things they want to say, but generally when we see sports teams move, it's not one of the ones that has had a 50, 60-year history in the city that they'd be moving away from. The last time that I can really remember that happening, that was the Supersonics. And when they moved, that still hasn't recovered. And there's still an awful lot of bad feelings about that.
Yeah, a lot with Clay Bennett to Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. And Keith, the 76ers, I think they want to go downtown. They're now in South Philly, where the Spectrum was, where the Vet was, where Lincoln Financial, where it is. They want to go down to basketball standalone only and not share with the Flyers. It's always amazing when people start talking about a new arena. If you're downtown, you want to go to the suburbs. If you're in the suburbs, we want to go downtown.
Yeah, always. Yeah, it's been that way with almost every single one of these. And I tend to think, with football and the like, where you're talking, 50, 60, if it's college, up to 100,000 people coming in, having those out and away from downtown is good. You get all the parking lots. Everybody goes and does their tailgating. Going to a football game is like an all-day event. Going to a basketball game, I think it fits best when it's downtown, because you go down, you pop in, you park, you go in and watch a game, and then you go home. And I think that makes a lot more sense that way. But, yeah, my guess is this will all get done. It's probably the typical, everybody's blustering a little bit, and everybody's got, kind of their hackles up about, I want this and I want that, and, or we'll move and all those kind of things. And it's like, okay, but what it does tell you is there are cities and locations and places that are like, hey, team, we want one. We're ready. I mean, we know Seattle wants a team. Las Vegas wants a team. I think Adam Silver said he had 7 or 8 cities have reached out to them when he referenced expansion. So expansion's coming, and what I keep telling people is I think it'll be 2 teams, but I would not be surprised if we get reports that over a period of time it may be as many as 4.
What are some of those other cities? Back to Kansas City, back to Cincinnati. Where?
Yeah, so Montreal is one that's mentioned quite often. That's a place. Vancouver, they're now in a completely different place than they were when the Grizzlies existed there originally. They're now in a spot where they would maybe like to get back in. Mexico City has done really well with the G League team, and that's one of the ones that they're looking at. And what I've had a lot of people tell me is Seattle and Las Vegas are basically locks unless something goes really sideways that we're not expecting. Then after that, don't be surprised if there's at least 1 or 2 maybe international cities in the mix. And that could be Montreal, Vancouver, Mexico City. Back here in the States, Louisville is they've been pushing for a team for a very long time. But I think the NBA is pretty conscious of, hey, we've got a lot of East Coast markets covered. We may want to look at what would it take to get a couple more teams outside of Seattle and Las Vegas, and I think that's where we're headed at one point in time or another.
Keith, and I apologize because this question is loaded with ignorance, but I'm just curious. You mentioned Mexico City being a team in there that has expressed interest, and the NBA has been looking at. They obviously have the G League team down there. Was that kind of the idea to put the G League team down in Mexico City to just kind of see how it plays out with G League, see if there's that interest in professional basketball in Mexico City, and then if it does work out and there is a lot of interest, you go and you can start a more serious conversation about an NBA team? Because you looked at that, that I'm pretty sure the Mexico City team does not have any affiliation with an NBA team, and it had a couple of former prominent NBA players on it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they've had a lot of veteran guys go through there. They're kind of what they've done is they've done a mix of Mexican and Latin American players that have played on that team, as well as like just guys who are established pros, is the way I'd put it. They're kind of fringe NBA guys and guys who've been on the NBA circuit for a while. Y'all had one of them there, I believe, on a 10-day from the Mexico City team last season. The name is escaping me now at the moment, but yeah, I know they built it up. But to answer your question about that, really was part of it. The idea was, hey, we could put a G League team here because if an unaffiliated G League team fails 2-3 years in, hey, we tried something new, right? It's almost like G League Ignite. We tried something new for an alternative to college. Now NIL is so prominent, we don't need it anymore, and they shut it down, and it doesn't exist starting with this coming season. So Mexico City, that's really what it was. It was to start to establish a foothold into Mexico and then into Central America, and ultimately, I think, more into South America, where the NBA is looking to say, hey, we can kind of get this stuff, pushing forward. And Adam Silver has been very open about, hey, there's room for some form of, it's probably not the NBA, but some form of, much like they have the Basketball Africa League, where they could have something in Europe, they could have something in Asia, where it's maybe the NBA becomes a lot more of a, that is here in North America, but then they're focused on other stuff as they build it all out. I think we're in an interesting place with the NBA. Not probably, we're probably a couple decades out from any of this stuff, but Adam Silver is very focused on growing the game more worldwide than I think predecessors have been.
I guarantee you he has a task force on it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like expansion. It's funny because for years, Adam Silver, whenever it was, whether it be All-Star or the NBA Finals, he was kind of giving his State of the NBA address. He'd get asked, hey, where are we at on expansion? He would say, we want 30 healthy teams in the markets they're in. We're not considering it. It's not anything we're thinking about. It was about 3 years ago that he finally said, Yeah, we're gonna at least dust off the expansion stuff. We're gonna start looking at it. Then about a year and a half ago was when we finished the TV deal. We're really gonna start looking at expansion. And since then, it's been it's as soon as we get done with the TV deal, that's where we're gonna go. Because I had this conversation on our show today. Trevor and I did. That'll post in a little bit. A guy like Markelle Fultz is still without a job. Like, he should have a job somewhere on an NBA team. There's enough talent to support, 2 more teams. Are they going to be very good teams? No, probably not for a couple years, but that's what happens with expansion teams. I mean, right now everybody's all fired up about the Vegas hockey team. They, made the finals very, very quickly, and I suppose it could happen. But in general, yeah, they're pretty rough for a couple years, but you get them in, they build up, and they go from there.
Yeah, it happened fast for the Milwaukee Bucks because they got Lou Alcindor, but it usually takes a while. Your home state now, where you live in Florida, got a team in Orlando, got a team in Miami. You think any appetite for Tampa, St. Pete, or Jacksonville?
For Tampa, I think the Magic would fight it very, very hard. It's the same as the Rays have done when Orlando has looked at getting a baseball team. Yeah. They believe, hey, we're the Central Florida market as much as, where I live in Orlando to get to a Rays game, you have to go all the way across Tampa Bay to get to St. Pete where they play. It's like an hour and a half away. And that's not you're not just popping in there on a random Tuesday and decide, hey, let's just go down to a game tonight. So I think Orlando would very much fight against that and try to say, no, hey, we got this. Now, Jacksonville, we'll see. I think the NBA is focused elsewhere. I really believe it is. They're going to take care of Seattle. They're going to get them a team back. And it's like the worst secret in the league that Las Vegas is going to get a team. And you have LeBron James saying, I want to own a team, and he wants to be part of the team in Las Vegas because then he can stay living right where he is, and it's just a short jump over there from Southern California. Now you have Stephen Curry coming out and saying, I want to own a team one day. I don't know that either one of them is going to own a team by themselves, but be a big part of a team ownership group. Yeah, I think we may see that come together. We may see that come together with the two of them with the Las Vegas franchise when it comes into being.
That would definitely be something if you had both of them with the same team. Last thing for you, Keith, before we let you go, I believe it was about a month ago or so now that it was announced Lonzo Ball was cleared for 5-on-5 play as he continues to rehab from his injury that has caused him to miss a significant amount of time over these last couple of years due to injury. With him getting back to 5-on-5 work, and it sounds like we'll see him at some point this season, what kind of role, after missing that much time of game action, what kind of role do you think Lonzo Ball plays for this Chicago team this year?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. That's a team that's, very much in transition. Mm-hmm. DeMar DeRozan leaves. They've been trying to trade Zach LaVine with no luck. I think they'd like to trade Nikola Vucevic if they could, but I think you're in a spot where, for Lonzo, what's happened while he's been out, Kobe White has emerged as a very good player and a good starting guard. Ayo Dosunmu has grown into being a nice rotation player. Now, all of a sudden, there's some depth. But I do think the Bulls, in part because of, hey, he's worked so hard to get back. He's not given up on this. They're going to give him some minutes to see what it looks like. But I also think it's a part of, hey, if he plays and looks like, all right, he can actually help somebody, that's another tradable player that they'll have moving forward. So I do think we're going to see him get some minutes. But whenever a guy's been out that long, I'm always a little skeptical of what it looks like. But I'm open to the fact and hoping for him that he does get back, because he was really having a wonderful year with the Bulls before he got hurt, and it's been rough to see since then. So hopefully he can make it all the way back.
Yeah. Well, Keith, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Keith.
Keith Smith with us talking NBA. Thank you so much, Keith, for being with us. And it's getting close to training camp opening. When the training camp opens and the games start and the weather cools down like we're going to get this weekend, but consistently cools down, let's get outside on the patio at the commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar, the new Collierville commissary, and watch those games and enjoy being outside for all the TV watching. And you can always enjoy the original in Germantown. 2 great locations for great Memphis barbecue done the slow-cooked Memphis way. If you're craving an easier way to order, text commissary to 337-337. 3-3 and perfect for a big group. You got a Kansas City Chief group of buddies that want to go out tonight and watch the game? Do so. You got some Baltimore Ravens fans? Do so at the commissary, where you can start that barbecue feast with the great appetizers like the cheese plate or the tamales, smoked chicken wings, or the barbecue nachos that were invented in the 80s by Walker Taylor and his team. Then dig into the ribs of the shoulder, chopped or pulled on a plate, on a sandwich, all the sides, deviled eggs, slaw, beans, bread, and you can order it by the pound or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. Perfect for tailgating, whether it's at high school football tonight or tomorrow night, on Tiger Lane Saturday, down in the Grove on Saturday, wherever you're going. Tennessee fans, pack that on your way to Charlotte for the NC State game. Save room for dessert like the banana pudding and the lemon icebox pie. Here's the number, 901-754-5540, or go online at commissarybbq.com.
Well, we need to get to another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some handicapping. Doug Kazarian will join us on the other side. Obviously, Thursday night football tonight. We got to get his thoughts on that. An NFL game tomorrow. So many games over the weekend when it comes to college football and college basketball. So we'll get his thoughts. We'll get his picks on all of those games next on Sports Time.
Instagram and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure, with and run at I-40. Family and fun come together.
Yes, you could go to some chain restaurant for breakfast. Lots of people do. It's the obvious choice. Or you could go to Memphis's favorite homegrown breakfast places, Sunrise on Jefferson or Sunrise East on Poplar. Sunrise is a Memphis original, and you can rely on getting a fast, fresh breakfast, or lunch for that matter, with nothing coming off of the back of a truck frozen. Whether it's breakfast or lunch, it's all made right here in Memphis. There's a reason why the 2 locations of Sunrise are the Memphis destination for great, fast, fresh food. It's Sunrise.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Get your tailgate season going now and win a free tailgate package from Buster's Butcher. Stop in Buster's Butcher, 199 South Highland Street, and register to win Ice Mule Cooler, 4 Yeti Coasters, a $200 gift certificate, and some Buster's branded swag. Tailgate package valued at $500, no purchase necessary, 1 entry per person. Winner drawn 10 a.m. October 1st. Buster's Butcher offering the finest selection of curated meats, cheeses, prepared foods, and more. Learn more at bustersbutcher.com.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
We're in the break room at a traditional jewelry store here. Hey, Mark, I
I know it's our job here to try and sell every piece of jewelry, but don't sell this ring. I'm going to try to use my employee discount to buy it for my wife.
Okay, but you know you can get a better deal at Genesis Diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds? Are you crazy? Better not let the boss hear it.
All I'm saying is I got a pair of diamond set earrings there for my wife and paid a lot less than what we charge here, even after my employee discount.
Wow.
You never know who you'll see shopping at Genesis Diamonds. With no middleman pricing on the best selection of diamond rings, earrings, pendants, bands, and bracelets, it's a no-brainer.
I admire your dedication to our jewelry store and not going to Genesis. I know the boss really appreciates your loyalty.
It's just the right thing to do, man.
And it's nice your wife won't mind getting a smaller diamond.
On second thought, can you cover me while I take a break? Genesis Diamonds, the smart alternative to old-fashioned jewelry shopping. With more selection, lower prices, higher quality, stronger warranties, and zero pressure. At Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you on this Thursday afternoon, and I'm really excited about our next guest, Doug Kazarian, joining us, formerly with ESPN, now with Wager Watch and OnlyPlayers.com in Las Vegas. He joins us on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Doug, thanks so much for joining us. Really excited to have you on. I know we want to get to a lot of games, get your thoughts, obviously, with NFL starting tonight, with some big-time college football games over the weekend. But I want to start with this Thursday night football game tonight. You've got Baltimore against Kansas City. And I'm curious for you, because on social media, you see a lot of people putting out all these different types of trends of, underdogs in week one Thursday night football games, or, whatever it might be, 15-3 in the last 18 seasons against the spread. How much do you look at those historical trends when it comes to NFL games, and what do you think about this game tonight?
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me, guys. I'll never blindly follow something.
Sure.
I think that's a dangerous path to go down. But I do think a lot of these trends are sort of an exercise in critical thinking. It's what is the substance behind it? What is the connection of the dots? If there is something, then fine, I'm all ears. But often people want to oversimplify something that just cannot be oversimplified.
Sure.
You hear in baseball, this pitcher's got this ERA on the road, and it's a stark contrast to what it is at home. Well, it's not the only thing that was changed between all those starts, right? He faced different opponents. His offense performed differently. Maybe he had a nagging injury for a couple of them. It's just not as simple. And if this were that easy, we would all sort of tail it, but it's just not. So I would just caution everyone to treat them like they're predictive. I think they're very fun to analyze after the fact, but I don't think they're really predictive. For example, something like 70% of primetime games in the NFL last year went under the total. So if someone wants to follow that trend, it's like, well, are you implying that if those same two teams played on that day during the Sunday afternoon, that it would have gone over? I mean, did the primetime component really impact the outcome? I mean, it's kind of a silly thing when you think about the entire season basically went under last year. So you really just got to flush it out and be able to poke holes in some of the connecting of the dots that's done very casually.
Doug, it is a real honor to have you on with us. When I got the opportunity to book you as a guest, you saw how quickly I jumped at it. Your very familiar voice, your very matter of fact style. And Doug, I promise you, from afar, I've always loved your style because it's just the facts, Jack. I know you want people to subscribe and follow you, but it's not 1-900-25,000 stars. Right. I love that you do it in a matter of fact, but yet simple to understand. I think very relatable way to do this. And now I'm going to ask maybe the dumbest question you ever get: harder or easier, handicapping NFL or college football?
Well, I think it depends on the season. Last year, I had a really good NFL season, finished 14th in the Circa Millions and the Westgate Super Contest.
Heck
but
yeah.
in general, I would think college is a little easier because you have more games.
Uh-huh.
And when you have more games and more variance, you should be able to find softer spots. Now, with that being said, sometimes the stubbornness of NFL betting market odds makers can help you. For example, in college, we'll see line moves, right? We saw the very first opening, weekend, we saw Montana State move 10 points.
Look at Tennessee and NC State this weekend.
Yeah, you won't see that in the NFL because they're so stubborn. So maybe if you think it is a lopsided game and the market's just so stubborn, then you'll have opportunity, whereas the numbers are moving. I mean, you have point spreads in the 40s and 50s in college. You'll never have that in the NFL. So maybe the fact that the point spreads will be elastic in college almost makes it tougher because I like to bet into the stubbornness of the NFL. Kind of like last year I just talked about. First few seasons, all these games were going under, and just the odds makers just would not adjust that much.
Doug, you in Las Vegas, a long time with ESPN, proving that there's life after ESPN, especially great life after ESPN in Vegas. You can follow Doug at onlyplayers.com, also at Wager Watch, and on Twitter at Doug Kezirian, Kezirian, and we want to visit with you a bunch this year. Breakdown tonight for us, Chiefs and the Ravens.
Well, it's one of those games where you can't force it. I have a small play on the Chiefs. I think if you can get them at -2.5, -120, or -3 +100, so no juice. I think there's value there, but I think it's going to be a sweat. I think it's going to come down to it. But as much as I think the Ravens want revenge and everything, it doesn't mean like the Chiefs aren't going to show up, right? They've heard all the chirping, and I just want the best player in the league on my side. But it's not a big play. And, with the vast menu now with props and other options, there's so many ways to get involved in these games. You don't have to force it. Like in a pick'em league, I am on the Chiefs for sure, but I'm focusing on in-game. In-game wagering is another sort of tool on the tool belt. And it's a long season. I don't want to force anything. I like some college games more. I'm more involved in like season-long props. I know that's not fun. You have to wait till the end of the year, but you got to just let stuff come to you. Last year, I had a bunch of win totals that I really liked. This year, I only have a couple. So you really just got to feel it out and understand that, we like to say all tickets cash the same. I've been crushing WNBA this year. Like those tickets cash just the same way that a ticket on the opening night in the NFL does. So, we all know that as bettors, but we also, there is an entertainment component, and I get it. But sometimes, that's the other thing with week one, whether it's college or NFL. Remember, these point spreads have been up for 4 or 5 months. So this market, week one, should be as tight as possible because all the bettors and all the ingredients that go into shaping the line are there, and it's game day. So it's got to be a pretty tight line, and it's hard to really make a absolutely strong case on either side.
Please tell us you have the entire retirement on Vandy's season total over 2.5.
How about that, huh? It's a surprise. I did a couple years ago when they started the season in Hawaii and blew them out. I was on to Hawaii. But the college has such variance. You don't want to overact, and it's very dangerous, both in college and the NFL, to overreact from week one to week two. But sometimes you just got to pounce and sort of, again, bet into that stubbornness. I love Oklahoma this weekend. They're laying 29. I don't think Houston's going to score. And I just think that, the over-unders come down, but I think it's cheap. I think there's a prop on that game. Largest lead, 31.5 or something ridiculous. It's one of those things where I think if they played at the end of the season, the line would be way higher. But there is resistance in the betting market because the odds makers are not ready to just punt on Houston being that bad, but I am. So there are some times where you have to risk kind of overreacting to week one.
Yeah. Doug, going back to the NFL, tomorrow night we get a Friday night game. It's going to be on Peacock, Packers and Eagles in Brazil. A lot of people excited about this matchup. Right now, I think the last I saw, the Eagles about a 2.5-point favorite in that one. Yesterday or the day before when I looked, they were about a 3.5-point favorite. So it looks like that line may be moving into Green Bay's favor. What do you think about this game tomorrow, and how much stock are you putting putting into this game being played in Brazil.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and you've read the market correctly. There was some sharp action that came in on Green Bay, and we got to remember 3 is such a valuable number in the point spread world of the NFL. And what that means is it's the most common margin of victory, and 14.6%, I believe, a game since the extra point distance moved back in 2015. I want to say that's been it's by far. So if a number moves off 3, so to go to 2.5 or to 3.5, that's a significant move. But it just shows you Philly should never have been a 3-point favorite on a neutral field over Green Bay. Like, the Packers made a nice run. Give them all the credit in the world. But that Dallas game in the playoffs got away. Like, this Green Bay, I think there's going to be a little bit of some growing pains here, and it's not just going to be simply incremental, building off last year's success. And Philly obviously started great last year, but they supposedly have worked things out with Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I'm not ready to believe it. I just need to know why they worked it out, or are they just saying that to change the narrative? But I think adding Barkley, we'll see what the absence of Jason Kelce does. But I lean to Philly now that the number's off 3 and it's at 2. But really sharp books are on the low end, and they're not baiting Green Bay or Philly money, but they just don't want any more Green Bay money.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're talking to Doug Kazarian. You can get a lot of his picks and follow him, Wager Watch, and onlyplayers.com. Going over to college football, I know here locally, a lot of people have been excited with what they saw in Week 1, a lot of impressive showings. But here locally in Memphis, a lot of Memphis Tiger fans, what do you think about the Tigers this season as a whole? We were kind of talking win totals earlier you mentioned win totals earlier. What do you think of this Memphis team as a whole? I know this weekend they've got Troy. That line has talk about games that have shifted.
Yeah.
I think that one opened about 13.5, 14, now all the way up to about 19. What do you think of this Memphis team in that game on Saturday against Troy?
Well, I think it's a great example, like you said, of teams that have to adjust, right? Or between weeks 1 and 2. And that's when we see Troy lose outright as about an 8-point favorite.
Yeah.
I think the one thing about the American is that the bottom of the conference, I think the floor is going to be higher than we've seen in years past. I think you go up and down the league. Like, for example, one of my favorite college win total bets was Temple under 2.5, because I didn't see any layups in the few times they might get some competitive games. But besides that, like, I think there's going to be a lot of parity in this league outside of the Owls who stink. But Memphis is not going to have any sort of like cakewalks or whatever. We think Troy is worse than it was, but maybe that was just a bad week last week, and they're back to a dynamic. They have athletes and can run the ball and all that stuff. But there's, obviously you would think the Florida State game turned a little easier the last couple of weeks, but Norvell's going to the backup. Oh no, Florida. Sorry, Florida's going to the younger quarterback. We'll see about FSU. But I think it's going to be another one of those seasons where Memphis is going to have some nice wins and then some coin flip games that's really going to dictate kind of like their postseason future. But, like they could run the tape. It's going to be a typical Memphis season, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. It's a good thing. But it's just like, what do you do in some of these monster games with their coin flips? Like at FSU, I think they're beatable. I mean, Seminoles are beatable, obviously, by a team like the Tigers. But I just think the parity across the league with the UTSAs and some of these other schools, it's going to be tough, man.
Doug, if you want to sell us that Temple ticket, we will. Brian and I picked Temple's game by game, and both of us independently fell on 0-12.
Well, I'm surprised the line is as low as it is at 13. And I will say, I know they got smacked by Oklahoma and had 6 turnovers. I was actually impressed a little bit with Temple's performance. They didn't roll over. They played tough on defense. I thought Oklahoma's offense in the trenches, like the O-line had some issues, and Jackson Arnold didn't look that great. I mean, they got the scoop and score off the muff punt. So I was hoping the line would be higher for Temple, like 16.5, and I would take the Owls. But this just might be an under bet because I think the Temple front was pretty good. I kind of like the under 43. It's just such a low number for college, but we know how Navy runs the ball.
No, we want that season ticket. That's what we want.
I know. Yeah. I was just saying. Sorry, I pivoted to maybe it's not an automatic win because I kind of saw some stuff at a Temple that wasn't terrible.
Yeah. Wow,
I missed that part of the game, Doug, and I watched most of that last Friday night against OU. I missed that not so bad Temple part.
Yeah, well,
right.
I'll take that under for this weekend against Navy. I like that a lot. Big game this weekend, though, when it comes to SEC and Big Ten. Texas on the road at Michigan, a top 10 matchup. Right now, Texas about a 7.5-point favorite. That total sitting about 42.5. What do you like in this big one on Saturday?
Yeah, the numbers come down to 7. So I was a little worried at 7.5. So I'm okay with 7. I would lay it with 7. Michigan's fine. I don't want to overreact to week 1 like I was talking about, but Orgy's not that great. They moved some pieces around offensively. Texas looked dynamite, and you don't want to put too much stock in it. But I have a lot of questions with Michigan. I mean, I felt their win total was so fascinating, losing Harbaugh, losing their quarterback, coming off the national championship game. A lot of moving parts, and I know the big houses and all that, but Texas is no stranger to the big house. I mean, they won at Tuscaloosa, so I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. But for 4 quarters, I'm not concerned laying it on the road. I think there's a lot of firepower with Sark, and he's going to have no problem trying to cover that 7.
I agree.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a fun one. Doug, this was a blast. I'm so happy we were able to get you on. A lot of fun. I really hope we can do this a lot more with you, like Brett said earlier, because like I said, a ton of fun. Thank you again for joining us, and good luck this weekend with all your plays.
Thanks so much. Very kind of you to say that. Good luck to everyone this weekend.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Doug Kazarian joining us. He's now with Wager Watch and OnlyPlayers.com in Las Vegas. You can go there and get all of his picks for the weekend. He gave us some really good ones, I thought, for the weekend, not only in the NFL, but also with college football. But I think everyone knows Doug Kazarian with the amount of time he was with ESPN, and you can follow him on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Doug Kazarian, Kezirian. Really enjoyed having him on with us today, and hopefully, like both Brett and I mentioned, we can have him on a lot more often. But we need to get to a break, and when we come back, we'll get to Big Number of the Day.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with the Z. Good food fast.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quicky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Here for Brian Elder Roofing. For nearly 2 decades, we've installed some of the best roof systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. Or visit us online at BrianElderRoofing.com.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South, but size isn't their only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Gold membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for unlimited range time. Free gun rentals with purchase of ammo and members lounge access. Top Gun 2770 Witten Road and TopGunMemphis.com. Always shoot with the best. Top Gun Memphis.
The best I do's start with Sissy's Blue. Discover bridal jewelry worthy of your big day at Sissy's Log Cabin, along with our spectacular experience that comes with our promise of exceptional quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Experience our expansive selection when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Find your perfect engagement ring only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand.
It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, my big number of the day is the number 13. A lot of people say an unlucky number, maybe the most unlucky number of all of numbers, but I think one person, I should say, would say it was pretty lucky for him, and that would be Caleb Williams, who wore the number 13 at USC, and today the school announced that they would be retiring the number 13 after Caleb Williams spent 2 seasons with the program and won the 8th Heisman Trophy in USC history. So very quick to be in the rafters, number 13 at USC. Also in this post by the USC football team over on Twitter, it also has Reggie Bush tagged and Reggie Bush's number back up with the rest of the retired numbers after it was removed in 2010 because of everything that was happening with Reggie Bush in terms of his time in college and the Heisman Trophy. But now that has all been patched up back in April, his number will be back out there alongside now Caleb Williams.
Do you know the other USC retired numbers? I would assume Heisman Trophy winners: Mike Garrett, Marcus Allen, Charles White, Carson Palmer. Is OJ?
That's a great question, Brett. I am not positive. I'll see if I can pull a list.
I know it was, but
in this story,
and I just wonder. I don't know if it's still retired or if they just don't issue it. And even in the times that Reggie Bush, it was not retired. It just was not issued to a player. Caleb Williams deserved it those 2 years at SC. Look, he didn't play defense.
No, he definitely didn't. And your O.J. Simpson's number is retired, and it is up there, the number 32. So yeah, he's up there. So it looks like. Let's see. I don't know if I can find a list, but I did look up O.J. Simpson. He is retired.
And you said there's how many at USC retired?
It didn't say how many's retired. It
but
said
8 Heisman
winners. I'm sure all of those are retired. I don't know if there's more than that.
I wonder if defensive guys have had their numbers retired, like Ronnie Lott and other great defensive players. That's good stuff. Caleb Williams deserving of that. I tell you, one place number 13 is not going to be retired at OU.
Oh, no.
For Caleb Williams.
No. Maybe the exact opposite.
I wonder when we will get that player that was that good at one place but NIL portal to another, and they both honor him.
Oh, that's a great question, Brett.
I think it could be a while.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really long time.
But somebody could be that outstanding. I know somebody that's been that outstanding, and that's Seth Hennigan. That's why my big number is 81. With 2 touchdowns passing against UNA, Seth Hennigan, he now has 81 for his storied U of M career. He's tied with Danny Wimprine for second all-time for touchdowns thrown. He trails Brady White by 9. He's not getting 9 Saturday, but he'll get 9 by the time the Tigers come home again, because after Saturday, Rhodey's at FSU, at Navy. When he comes back against Middle Tennessee State, he will be the record holder.
That's incredible to even think about. I mean, you talk
and
about...
what number do you retire for him? His last number?
It's a great
4 years, 4 numbers. His style, that's cool.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I like the idea. It's definitely different, but you're right. It makes it a little difficult if you're trying to retire numbers, statue talk, whatever you might want to talk about. It makes it a little difficult when a player doesn't have the same number.
It does. Yesterday in visiting with Coach Tommy West, and he's going to be with us next week, and I look forward to you being able to visit with him. I said the ultimate, I think, associated with running the ball with D'Angelo, and he's had Danny Wimprine sit there all these years, either in first or second place, and now getting ready to drop to third.
Yeah, that's a great point by you, because we had kind of talked about that a couple days ago off air of, those teams were obviously dominated by D'Angelo Williams talk, and he's been the name that everyone remembers from those teams for good reason. D'Angelo Williams, an unbelievable player, but Danny Wimprine was pretty good right there next to him in the backfield. One of my favorite, probably my favorite quarterback in Tiger football history.
That pretty deep ball that he threw, and Coach West talked about it, and that is a fun play to watch unfold. That deep ball that hits them right in stride, and they walk in.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and he threw a good one. So I'm glad you had fun with Tommy West yesterday, and I'm excited to talk with him when he joins us again. But when you talk about Seth Hennigan, you're absolutely right. What he has done in these 4 years have been remarkable, and you even go back and think about the circumstances of which he had to come in and play. I mean, we remember when he was a
surprise starter.
Exactly.
At first game.
He was not supposed to start as a true freshman.
That was going to be Grant Gunnell.
That's correct. And then an injury right before the season, and they had to throw the young kid in there, and turns out to be an unbelievable player.
Danny Wimprine had to play, had started as a true freshman.
You're absolutely right. So it's funny how sometimes those things work out. But we need to wrap up this hour and get to a break, and when we come back to start our 5 o'clock hour, Greg Gaston, he'll join us to talk Tigers. There'll be a lot of Tiger basketball talk with all of the news that has come out over these last 42 hours or so. So we'll talk a lot of Tiger basketball. We'll also touch on the football team, their win over North Alabama as they get ready to play Troy this weekend. But we're talking Tigers next with Greg Gaston.
Located corner of Park and Cherry is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
If you love sports and Mexican food, you can get the best of both at Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill on Summer near Graham. Watch all the big games on all the big TVs on all the walls at Los Cabos. And enjoy premium tequila shots anytime for just $5.50. Celebrate every day with lunch specials from 10 to 3 and happy hour from 3 to 8. Lunch is just $6.75 to $10.99 and margaritas start at $3.99. Experience real Mexican cuisine along with great sports at Los Cabos on Summer near Graham.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Rich Eisen here. Join us for Westwood One's exclusive play-by-play coverage of the NFL kickoff from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will look for a different outcome from last year's AFC title game when they faced the now back-to-back Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Kevin Harlan and Hall of Famer Kurt Warner will have the call as we get the new season started on NFL Kickoff.
Right here on Sports 56.
Vanguard is 100% client-owned, serving over 50 million investors every day. Whether you're planning for retirement, putting your kids through college, or saving up for your next adventure, Vanguard can help you set personalized investment goals. All investing is subject to risk. Vanguard is owned by its funds, which are owned by Vanguard's fund shareholder clients. Copyright 2024, the Vanguard Group, Inc., all rights reserved, Vanguard Marketing Corporation Distributor.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. It cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. A J.D. Power 2023 award information. Visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
This Sports 56 traffic report is brought to you by Luttrell Belting. They keep you moving.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's cranking up pretty good over here in the Midtown area again on I-40 up by Chelsea. It's increasing with more volume by the minute on 240 East from Mill Branch out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway, which actually looks pretty good right now on Bill Morris as you continue all the way out into Collierville, headed south of Memphis down the interstate here on 55 down through South Haven. That's also starting to get a little bit more heavier than it was 15-20 minutes ago. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. Go by and see them. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10. From the Tigers sideline, it's Tigers Talk with Memphis broadcasting legend Greg Gaston. Hear Greg weekday mornings on Sports 56 Mornings along with Eli Savoy from 7 to 10 right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. On Twitter X at Greg_Gaston. Here's Greg with Bryant and Brett.
Greg Gaston will join us momentarily and talk all things Tigers, and we know what a lot of that conversation will entail today. It will be the breaking news from yesterday from the Tuesday night massacre of the assistant coaches being fired. None of them resigned. All of them fired. A lot of the conversation will be that. Also, it will be some 1-0 Memphis Tigers football team playing against Troy and how the complexion of the Florida State game that was going to be so big, it's still big, but it has definitely changed the nature of winning that. I said yesterday, Brian, I think I said earlier in the week too, on Tuesday, I would not put it on the Tigers of that being anything must win, because it's still all those facilities and all that budget and all those players for FSU, that decided advantage that they have just institutionally, fundamentally going into that game. But as the season teeter-totters, it is now, and you see the Vegas betting line for next week moving, and it'll move even more after the Tigers play and I think defeat Troy. That it will move even more. FSU with an open date this week, they are not playing, and we know they stand at 0-2. We'll catch up with Greg momentarily.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Trying to get him on, having some phone issues right now, but definitely a lot to talk about. I mean, Tiger basketball, I think, for unfortunate reasons, is front and center right now. But you got to think with everything that's been happening with football, kind of the positive stories of what this year could be with this football team. They get the win in week 1 and look really good out there. And so I think hopefully week 2 you can see kind of the same thing against Troy, and then we'll see what happens when they head down and play Florida State.
And now up at ESPN, we were talking yesterday about the story, and they have the full letter story. And in the body of the story by Jeff Borzello, it talks about it's unclear whether the anonymous letter is related to the firings. Well, I would say it has something to do with it. Some of the alleged violations predate the Memphis tenure of at least 2 of the fired assistants, while none of the fired coaches were named in that anonymous letter. And it goes on to talk about, toward the end of last year, senior Malcolm Dandridge missed the team's final 5 games as the school conducted an investigation into his eligibility. And when that broke last year, the immediacy of that story, I had people telling me it's not going to stop at just one player. It's 2 or 3 that will be ensnared by this. Well, it ended up not being as that season played out. If they played an ineligible player, if they went on and played somebody, that will be heavily frowned on by the NCAA. And I've seen a lot of people saying, how now that we're awash in money and cash and in paying players, how do you get in trouble for paying players? Okay, maybe put all those to the side, the DeAndre Williams aspect of it. When you get down to that academic part of it, the NCAA still has purview over that, and that has forever been the verboten with them.
No, you're 100% right with that, and so definitely a lot of things to look at with all of this stuff. And now we have Greg Gaston with us on the phone lines to talk about everything going on with Tiger basketball. Greg, thanks so much for joining us. You would think on a September 5th, after the first week of games, we would be talking a lot of Tiger football, but unfortunately, I think a lot of today's discussion will be about Tiger basketball. We haven't talked to you. We've heard you on your show in the mornings with Eli talking a lot about what has happened over these last 2 days. But tell us, what has your thoughts been over these last 42 hours or so since we saw the first reports from Hitman Hoops, who y'all had on y'all's show, about the fact that it kind of came out at first, a couple staff members would no longer be, and then it really kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, guys, but then again, it is Memphis basketball, and it's always been a soap opera for decades, to be honest with you. There was always some sort of story, and in the off season, it's never a quiet time, but I thought certainly, like you said, Brian, early in September, we got the football team now playing games that maybe things would be settle down a little bit before the opening of camp, and certainly not the case. The news of the assistant coaches and other staff members being let go, that was something that was out there, but who exactly would be let go and what the reasons were, nobody really knew, and I still don't know if we know that exactly. The Rick Stansbury news, obviously, is something that's big, not just here, but around the country when it comes to basketball. You're talking about Penny's right-hand man, a proven leader and head coach for years at Mississippi State and Western Kentucky. And then you had the release from the University of Memphis, the press release with Penny saying that he's trying to do the best things possible for his team to have success. But I don't think anybody believes that you usually make a move like this with 4 coaches in September for any other reason than from what he said. I don't think you make a move to better your team in September, maybe add a player, but not get rid of 4 staff members. If you're going to do that, you do that at the end of the season, which, of course, after the season wrapped up, he made some other moves. So you're talking about probably 8, 9, 10 guys that were on the staff this past season that won't be on this season. So that was the first story that came out yesterday and certainly was, eye-popping to some extent, especially with Stansbury. But then when the second story hit us, and Pat Forty was first on that, about the allegations, the letter, the anonymous letter that was sent out, that one took you back because, first of all, it's somebody obviously that has a connection to Memphis one way or another, that has the knowledge. Again, this is all alleged, but has the knowledge and says they have all the things to back it up, whether it be photos, whether it be texts and things of that nature. But you also get this in a time when Memphis really has to be on their best behavior with the NCAA. Again, will we find out anything here sooner than later? Will it be a long road before maybe something comes out of it? Maybe nothing comes out of it. But the bottom line is, it's something that you hate to see. Certainly, whoever who sent this letter out had an axe to grind with Penny Hardaway, and their point has been made. But now what comes of it is the most important thing, because, again, if these allegations turn out to be true and they can be proven, and the NCAA now has its mitts on this letter, it does not bode well for Penny Hardaway.
Greg, it does feel like Dr. Ed Scott, very early in his tenure, he's walked into a big job, but he is leading very fearlessly, it appears to me.
Yeah, I think certainly Ed made his presence felt right away. He looked at the basketball program. I think he looked at how many chefs are in that kitchen and looked at the amount of staff members, and I think that certainly played a part in it, because you got to look at what you have, what you spend money-wise, are your expenditures, and then what is the result. And certainly the result last year was a disaster. And Penny's had a huge staff ever since he took over the job. Of course, you have the revolving door that's going on as well with staff members, some leaving on their own accord, some basically being shown the door. So I think there was a little bit of cost saving in the moves that were made. I think there's a little bit of that going on, but I think it goes beyond that. Again, you're not trying to shave some of the cost by getting rid of your right-hand man in Rick Stansbury. So certainly Ed has made his presence felt right away. He's looking at all aspects of everything in that athletic department, and that's what he should be doing.
Greg, it feels like that Dr. Scott is doing a full department review, A to Z, top to bottom, on everything, budgets, travel, expenses, on everything for every department.
Absolutely. You have to come in with an open mind, even though there was a lot of success in the past. There was also, from a financial standpoint, not that the money's flowing the way that they would love to. So you're going to look to tighten up the purse strings, look at every aspect of the athletic department, look at what makes sense, look at what doesn't make sense. This guy has walked in, I don't want to say a hornet's nest, but he has walked into so many different things that he has to be a part of, from the university now running the show at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, obviously overseeing what's going on with the renovations, certainly keeping in touch with what the Grizzlies are doing in the plans for FedEx Forum renovations, all his coaches, hiring staff, the money that they're trying to raise for whether it be the Eliza Fletcher soccer complex, the money that, now this is not from the athletic department, it's from the school, but the project that's going on over on the South Campus as far as the athletic dorms. These are just some of the things that he's walked into. It is a full plate for Dr. Ed Scott.
It absolutely is. And you mentioned that anonymous letter. Pat Forty wrote the story last night for Sports Illustrated. And Brett and I were talking about this earlier. I thought the biggest thing of it, to me, was the fact that the University of Memphis gave that anonymous letter credence and even said, not only do we know about that letter, not only do we have that letter, we've turned it over to, or at least a copy of it, over to the NCAA. And I think it's very easy, and you see universities do it all the time, where something comes up, anonymous, whatever it might be, and the university immediately, denies it and puts it down, and I don't know anything about that. The University of Memphis did the exact opposite in this scenario. Why do you think they went out there and acknowledged it and said, yeah, no, we know about this, gave it credence when Pat Forty called and inquired about it?
Well, I think there's two things. First of all, yeah, a lot of people are taken back by this situation, but I'm not because of two reasons. One, you have a new sheriff in town. You have Dr. Ed Scott. You still have a relatively new president, Dr. Bill Hargrave. And they may see things a lot different than Dr. Rudd did and that Laird Veach did. The other thing is Memphis is walking on eggshells with the NCAA. I think anything that falls into their lap that could be a potential problem, that it's almost like a hot potato. Throw it to somebody else. So let's get it to the NCAA. We don't want to cover it up or make them think we're covering up something, even though all it is a bunch of allegations right now. Let's make sure that they are aware that we did get this anonymous letter. It is full transparency, and I think you have to be in that position when you are Memphis already with the problems they have with the NCAA in the past and that they're on probation.
Greg, opening night against Missouri, do you think Penny Hardaway will be the head coach?
I do think so. I think he'll be the head coach because I just wonder, again, there's so many questions, Brett, but I just wonder if there will be a follow-through by the person who wrote this anonymous letter. In other words, the threat in this letter, and I've got a copy of the letter, are they going to follow through and provide all this information to the NCAA that they say that they have? Or is this just one of those, let's throw it out there, we have a problem, I'm saying I don't mean me, but that person, I'm talking as if I'm that person, I got a problem with Penny, here's the bombshell, everybody now is talking about it, it's become a national story, but I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to do anything more. Does the NCAA pursue allegations? They don't even know who do they even contact. This person has not disclosed who they are and probably won't. So I don't know what can come out of it right away. But if this person, again, follows through with the threats and provides all this information, then it could be big-time trouble, will be big-time trouble, and could be sooner than later. But we also know how the NCAA drags its feet. Now, as far as whether or not Penny would be fired by the new administration or any, I don't believe that will happen until they get to the bottom of this. And if it turns out to be that these allegations are true and there's facts to back it up, then it's going to be a huge problem. But my guess is that right now, because I don't know what the plans are for this person, if they have this material and if they're going to use it, I would say that he will be the coach coaching up the Tigers against the Missouri Tigers.
Greg, I hope you are right. Earlier in this show, I've said I respectfully disagree with you, but I hope you are right. I hope I am wrong.
Oh, that's fine.
I've said I think he has coached his last game. I think the Wichita State game was his last game. Those academic advisors, if they corroborate anything close to this, it is very, very, very damaging. Greg? I'm getting in your business a little bit. If you want to tell me, stay out of your business, do so. Have you talked to Rick Stansberry?
I have not. I haven't really. I actually have a very cordial relationship, but not a real.
I got you. Because you've known a lot of those assistants through the years very, very well, and there have been a lot of assistants leave very acrimoniously, including the legend Larry Brown, and that was going to be the answer to everything for so long. If Coach Hardaway could ever get, the famous basketball savant LB Larry Brown on his staff, well, he got him, and it didn't end well. I don't think he's the one that authored this letter because he's been around the block a bunch. He kind of knows better than to do anything like this. But somebody's very aggrieved, aren't they?
Well, there's no question about it. And look, I think that it has been somebody who's been around the program. I don't believe, now it's certainly possible, but I don't think that somebody who's been with the program for a year has those intricate details from what happened or what is alleged to have happened in 2020 and in 2022. So my guess is that person has been associated with the program now for quite some time. Doesn't mean it's an assistant coach. Doesn't mean it's somebody directly on the staff. It could be a person once removed from somebody who was on the staff and is getting all this information because that information was made available by that person. It's not going to be a second removed, third removed, fourth removed person. It's somebody associated with this program. Doesn't mean it's currently somebody on the program. So I don't know, but for me, it's hard. It's hard to believe that somebody, even an assistant coach who's privy to NIL and all this, like right now, and I'm talking about, let's say, an Andy Borman who was here for a season, I believe, Rick Stansbury who was here for a season. I don't know why they would have that information from that particular event in 2020, 2022 when they weren't here. Again, alleged, but the details that are pointed out in this letter are so, what's the word? You know, it's detailed. Let's just say the details are detailed, for lack of a better term.
It's very thorough.
It's thorough, so I don't know if they would. I don't know why they would have that information. I could be totally wrong about that, but yeah, I mean, it's anybody's guess. I've talked to people who think it's this person, and somebody thinks it's that person. I'm not going to speculate on who I think it could be, but whoever it is, they have an axe to grind with Penny Hardaway. They were done wrong in their opinion, in their opinion about Penny, that something went awry. I don't know how else. It can only be somebody who was within the program, or again, once removed from the program, and now has an axe to grind. This is not going to be a fan. This is not going to be somebody from the outside that has all that information. Now, if it was one incident, okay, let's say the academic situation. Well, they may have some information on that, certainly, and could fire up a letter. But they wouldn't have that information from the 2020 deal, or they wouldn't have that information from the 2022 deal. I think because there's so many incidents that are laid out in detail that it is somebody that has been around this program for a while.
Greg, I used the term from Watergate. I called it the Tuesday Night Massacre. You know of the Saturday Night Massacre in 1973 during the Watergate years. Now we're trying to find out who is Deep Throat.
I brought up that term on my show yesterday, or maybe this morning. Deep Throat. I'm sure I lost.
It ain't Hal Linden.
Yeah, so,
or Hal Holbrook, rather. I'm sorry. I got Barney Miller involved in this. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Hal Holbrook, who played Mark Feltz, right?
Well, we didn't know it was Mark Felt at the time. It was just a shadowy figure.
Exactly.
And then later divulged to be the third man in line at the FBI, Mark Felt, yeah.
Well, here's what's interesting, is you know this. The person who was Deep Throat acknowledged through other people that when basically he was on his deathbed, he would divulge who it was, or somebody would divulge it for him, and they did, and it ended up being Mark Phelps. Well, hopefully we won't have to wait too long, but we may never know who the author of this anonymous letter is.
Hey, Greg, forever, you know, that was the Washington intrigue, and I missed on it. Oops, I guess. Like there are a lot of oops these days from a lot of media types. I missed on it. I thought it was a composite. I thought it was several people that Woodward and Bernstein put together, but that's not the case. Greg Gaston with us from the Tiger Sideline, brought to you every week by Dyer's Hamburgers and the great crew at Crab Kings.
Greg, I'm curious, and I've been kind of looking the past couple of minutes at what the coaching staff looks like now, and it's very hard, not only with the 4 staff changes that we saw 2 days ago, or I guess yesterday. But, I mean, when you go this entire offseason, it's been a lot of changes. We were at one point where it felt like there was too many guys a part of this coaching staff and not enough spots. Now there's not enough guys. A lot of people have been pointing to, and you mentioned it earlier in this segment, about, you know, the financial restraints in terms of with these assistant coaches. A lot of people now asking, does this free up and mean that Nolan Smith will join this coaching staff?
Yeah, I think what it does, and I said this, is I don't think all 4 of these guys are gone for one particular reason. I think there are different reasons, and some of it, I think, is cost-cutting. Certainly not the case with Rick Stansbury. There was an issue with him and Penny Hardaway, no question, that could not be rectified. But I do think it's some cost-cutting. So 3 salaries may end up turning into 1 salary for Nolan Smith. And what's interesting is that the press release that came out yesterday about the coaches, that is the first acknowledgement of anything that has happened with this coaching staff all off season. In other words, moves that we had talked about, that were reported, that we speculated on, Andy Borman being let go, and others being let go. Some reported, Jason Munz has had that, and I think Parthu Pajai's had some information, but never released by the school, nor hires, right? Andre Turner, it's never been announced that he's on the staff, right? There was never a press release on the staff. So Mike Davis, never a press release about Mike Davis. But from everything I've gathered, it appears right now, and again, subject to change because it'll probably change in 10 minutes, Mike Davis would, I think, jump right into the lead assistant role. I think Andre Turner would probably be moved into an assistant coach's role. Again, this is just my speculation. Former Lane head coach, former Mitchell High School head coach, and a former Memphis Tiger great. And then I think they're going to pursue Nolan Smith. That would be your three. Remember, Penny said in the press release yesterday that he's going to be acting fast on the replacements. And who knows, maybe they'll add a couple others, but I think it's, like I said, a little bit of cost cutting to have that money to be able to offer up Nolan Smith, who's been rumored now for a while.
Greg, the blame game, the finger pointing is out there, and it's pretty ripe. And even some, as usual, blame the media that weren't supportive enough. We were out to get him. Greg, did you ever think for 1 second people were out to get Penny Hardaway?
Never,
Never.
Look, I am a huge fan of Penny. I spent a couple of days out in Vegas at his golf tournament this past month or 2 months ago, whenever it was. Went to his birthday dinner. I enjoy talking to Penny, talking about basketball and other things. I've been rooting for him from the beginning. And remember, I'm not born and bred here. I've been here a long time, but for Memphians, they worship Penny Hardaway. Yeah, there are some haters out there, especially those who couldn't care less about.
Well, they're opposing fans too.
Exactly.
This isn't a monolith.
Exactly, and they probably are happy to see him fall, but for Memphis diehard fans, they want him to succeed. From day one, they wanted him to succeed. They still hope that he'll be able to succeed, and this will go away. So, no, I don't believe that for a second.
Greg, I guess last thing before we let you go, it still is football season. The Tigers are still going to play a football game on Saturday.
They will.
They'll play Troy before the big game that, I guess, depending on who you ask, isn't maybe as big as it once was because of Florida State starting the season 0-2. What do you expect from this team? What did you see in that first game against North Alabama, and what do you expect to see this weekend against Troy?
So a lot of good things. I think the offensive line, which has three new starters, played okay. I think there's room for improvement, and I think they will improve. The running game obviously takes a big hit with the loss of Sutton Smith. That means Mario Anderson, he's going to have to really pick up and get a lot more touches. And certainly Greg DeWosier will have to fill in for Sutton Smith, and that's big shoes to try to fill. Defensively, I thought they played really, really well. The problem I saw, and this was echoed by the coaches today in our coaches' meetings, is that they felt that they kind of went through the motions sometimes and didn't play as physical as they can play. They're capable of being really, really physical. Now, Troy has lost a lot of talent from last year. Still a good team, still a capable team. But they lost their head coach. They lost a ton of starters, especially on defense. Offensively, they still got some weapons. They got a new quarterback, and he's a guy who can both throw the ball and run the ball. So the theme has been play more physical football, because certainly when we talk next week, the Florida State game, even though they're 0-2, it's all about physicality. That's why they lost their first two games, beating them in the trenches. So we'll see if Memphis can play more physical in this game. I expect Memphis to win. I expect them to cover. I think it's a 3-touchdown win for Memphis.
I like it. I'll definitely have people feeling good before that trip down to Florida State. Well, Greg, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next Thursday.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Greg Gaston joining us to talk some Tigers like he does every single Thursday afternoon. As always, you can hear Greg every single morning on Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli from 7 to 10, and also on the sidelines for every Tiger football game this season. Well, let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Looking for an engagement ring that'll really knock her socks off? You need to be at Genesis Diamonds. It's such a privilege at Genesis Diamonds for us to work with the world's finest designers, to be able to offer brands like Tacori and Verragio, and we're excited to be able to give you some brands. Genesis Vice President David Cooper confirms the shipping, the detail, the quality, the individuality is bar anything else. Genesis has been selected as an exclusive provider for every top designer from New York and California, with over 4,000 brands to choose from. And if that's not enough, they can create something that's truly custom craft your literally anything you can imagine. We have the capabilities to realize any dream. Things that other stores might call new, we've been doing for 5 years already. So don't settle for a mediocre style design. You deserve. I'm David Cooper from Genesis Diamonds, and I'm excited to see you show. It's extended.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, locations at Ridgeway and the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Hey pet parents, with Progressive's collision coverage, you get extra protection for your cat or dog, because there's nothing worse than seeing your pet hurt. Like when you see their face after accidentally stepping on their tail, and you say, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Pickles," as you kiss his nose and rub his little belly welly. You know Mr. Pickles is thinking, "You betrayed me." Anywho, Progressive pays up to $1,000 in vet bills if your pet is injured in an auto accident. Learn more at progressive.com and watch where you step. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Collision coverage subject to policy terms. Not available in all states.
If you're looking to play a private country club but only pay daily greens fees, then Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis, Arkansas is the place for you. At Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis, you can now play a beautiful, challenging course for only $59. Meadowbrook Country Club features champion Bermuda greens and is now available to everyone. A membership is $350 per month and includes tennis, pickleball, and swimming, plus a great restaurant and bar, all less than 15 minutes from downtown and midtown Memphis. Meadowbrook Golf Pro Mark can even fix you up with custom-made tricks on and Cleveland clothes. If golf isn't for you, try the social membership for only $250 a month. And there's 2 levels of all-inclusive junior memberships, $20 to $29 for $200 a month and $30 to $34 for $250 a month. Call for your tee time today at Meadowbrook Country Club, 870-394-4186. Now semi-private Tuesday through Sunday. Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis, 870-394-4186.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with the Z. Good food fast.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. They're clearing up a couple of accidents out here. It hadn't been too bad on all the major outbound routes. They've all been lighter than normal this week because of a lot of folks have been off. Traffic starting to pick up over here at times on 40 East from Sycamore View Road out towards Fayette County. Still holding up right now in pretty good shape on 240 on to 385 Bill Morris Parkway going outbound. Weimer's Jewelry right here in Memphis specializes in bridal ring purchases. They've been around since 1984. Go by and see them. Shop local. Save money at Weimer's Jewelry. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you on this Thursday afternoon in our Family Leisure Studios. We got about 30 minutes left in today's show, and we got to talk about what's trending. A lot of things trending today. We've got obviously all the Tiger news. We've got Thursday night football, a little bit of everything. A big weekend in college football. Brett, I'll kind of flip it on you. Usually, you tell me. Pick whatever you want to start with what's trending. I'll kick it back to you. What do you want to start with this afternoon?
I think it goes to the NFL. We're not going to read the letter verbatim. First of all, it's too long. I think
it's long. It's a long letter.
It would be very painstaking. It's out there in the public
Sure.
forum. I think of any kind of Google search. And I do realize some people that are listening right now might not be to where they can access that, but it's some pretty sordid allegations.
Yeah.
And I just for the sake of time, I don't think it would add much. But tonight in the NFL, I think should suffice, and we will see. We will hear that music, and we will see and hear Mike Tirico, and the NFL will be back. And I'm glad the idea of somebody going for a three-peat.
It's hard to believe.
And I mentioned it way back at the start with my not top story. We've never had it in the Super Bowl era. I wouldn't think many times, even in the NFL championship era, but some. I think Lombardi's Packers may have done. I don't even know if they did it. But it's hard to do in a league that is set up to not have anybody come close to doing that.
Sure, yeah, and we talk about the dynasties that you have out there, and it's you mentioned it to begin the show of this league of that tries to do everything it possibly can to stop dynasties from forming. And in the recent history, we've had two. We've had New England in the dynasty that they had, and now Kansas City in the dynasty that they have. And so tonight they kick off the season against the Ravens in what should be a good game. I know a lot of people thinking back to last year when the Ravens kicked off the season very similarly like they are tonight on Thursday night, being the defending champions, and ended up losing to the Detroit Lions, going up against the Ravens team that I think a lot of people are excited about. And you look at the weather, Brett, perfect football weather, 77 degrees and partly cloudy in Kansas City tonight. So it should be a great night.
So the last two nights in Kansas City, we heard with the expanded baseball playoffs,
Sure.
It would involve other teams and the intrigue and that September run. There's just not been much out at Kansas City for those games, and they're very involved in that. And even last night in Milwaukee, in St. Louis, Bryant, we're all mortified at what the crowds have looked like at a lot of games. I'm ready to see a weekend crowd. Next to last weekend in St. Louis, and I'm going to be there on Sunday. I'm ready to see that. And I think it will be slim to slimmer.
Sure.
Last night in Milwaukee, for a team that's counting magic numbers, it got the smallest magic number out there to wrap up division. Box score said 20 and change.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet.
And we're mortified over 20
Sure.
and change in St. Louis.
Sure, and like you just said, a team that has that division wrapped up and certainly going to the playoffs and can maybe make some noise, but an 81 win team they're sitting at right now. And yeah, you see that number. I saw a tweet last night pointing to that, just saying, I think it was one of the beat writers for the Cardinals saying, I know there's been a lot of outrage about crowds in St. Louis, just something to monitor. That
and they've been fudging those. They're even more depressed than what they're saying.
100%. But
we know the whole scan count jive.
Definitely, but I think it's the unfortunate truth of Major League Baseball that you get to this part of the season where it's right there before playoffs when everyone kind of comes back in. You're through the dead of summer where there's not much going on. It's now football
and
season.
School.
And exactly. School's back in session. These weeknight games are very tough for people to make, especially families that have children in school. There's just so many variables out there that make it really difficult, with some of these games late in the season.
It does, and everything you just laid out very well, Brian. It's all very reasonable, proper excuses to understand, but that's not what we were sold by Manfred Mann's Earth Band. We were sold they're going to be knocking the gate down because of all the intrigue in the playoff, and there's really not that much playoff intrigue. There are a few seeding spots that have some well, literally inside baseball intrigue, but there's not much in or out intrigue.
No, and I think that hurts, a lot more. Because, I mean, Brett, let's just play hypotheticals here, and it's going to hurt to play it. Let's say last night Brewers and Cardinals was not a matchup between, I guess last night an 80-win Brewers team and a 71-win Cardinals team that are so the space between those two in seeding and standings and everything are so far. If that was a 79-win Brewers team versus 78-win Cardinals team, I'm sure there would have been a lot more fans in attendance. It would have been, a better crowd. But you're right. This year, with all of that, there's going to be intrigue. Look at these rule changes. Baseball's going to be competitive and fun again. And it's just not. It's wrapped up right now for the most part. And I think that also plays a role in it.
Yeah, last night on the north side of Chicago, now people didn't know you were going to go get a combined no-hitter. Nobody knew that. But September, Wednesday night, school and all that stuff, all those variables we talked about, at a place historically in any kind of playoff run, it's jam-packed. Sure. Anytime they're there, 30 and change, about 5,000-6,000 empty seats. So, it didn't cause Cub fans to feel like they're in it. That's our answer way back to when we asked, are the Cubs in it? I think their fans answered that, because if they were in any kind of playoff run, those great fans would be there.
Yeah.
In New York at Citi Field, in a game between the Red Sox and the Mets, that's pretty good box office, isn't it?
Sure.
Red Sox coming to town, coming to Queens, play at Citi Field, all that good stuff. 26 and change.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so it's all around baseball.
Manfred wrong again.
Yeah, well, add another tally to the
that's
to the
Dead Sea
leaderboard.
Scrolls.
I mean, yeah, no,
it's single spacing.
It is, and it's. I always think about it whenever we have Keith Smith on. Keith does a great job with the NBA, and it feels like, especially in the off season, it's more talking about state of the league and things that the league's trying to do, and it feels like with one commissioner, you got great things going on. It feels like everything they do is the right call, and they're looking towards the future and doing great things. You got another commissioner that everything he does it hasn't worked and is bad and calls the trophy at the end of the season a piece of metal. I mean, it's just it's crazy the difference between those two commissioners.
And then the commissioner that will be, I assume, will be in Kansas City tonight. Sure. And that's one friendly place he can go.
Well, yeah.
I guess there are a lot of places that he hardly can go anywhere, including the host Super Bowl city this year in New Orleans. I've told this story at Super Bowl 47, and that was fresh off Bounty Gate decision. He moved around New Orleans that weekend. I mean, with a presidential detail security force.
It's crazy
because they were scared one of those from down there might take a swing at him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it gets tricky, I guess, out there. I was going to ask you, because you said, would he be at the game tonight? I was going to ask you if Taylor Swift was going to be at the game tonight, and just looked it up. Wheels down in Kansas City for Taylor Swift and her crew. How about that? I saw people upset because the NFL yesterday or the day before put out like a little hype video on Twitter, and the person with the most appearances in this 2-minute long hype video, Taylor Swift, was in it like 6 times, and somebody listed all of the marquee players that were not involved in the hype video at all, but Taylor Swift in there like 6 times because of course.
Now there's rumor and controversy out there that they're close to being finished. Have you read that conspiracy?
Yeah, supposedly somebody has found
that it was all
supposedly almost kind of like our anonymous letter here. Somebody found an anonymous PR statement for Travis when Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift break up.
What it used to be, is it?
Yeah, I mean, how about that?
It's rough out there.
It's rough. I'll be honest. I believe.
What's Mama Kelce going to say when it's? Is she part of the contractual terms?
That's a great question. Yeah, who gets Mama Kelce? I guess is the question. But no, so I'm sure everyone can rejoice, because I'm sure we'll get a lot of Taylor Swift on the screen tonight.
And we said it earlier. We both heard it at the same time. It was playing Westwood One promo tonight.
Yeah. Oh, man.
With Kevin Harlan doing the game, that he'd be alongside old number 13, the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
And I will, starting next week when it goes all Amazon, I will listen a lot to our station. And you work at a different shift, you're out doing something tonight, we'll have all the action right here. And to hear Kevin Harlan, it is symphonic.
No, it absolutely is. And I'm glad you brought that up, Brett, because it gives me an opportunity to remind everybody that we're the home of the NFL here in Memphis. And so we're going to have you covered all weekend long. And this week, because of the game in Brazil tomorrow night, we've got an NFL game on Friday night. So maybe you're out heading to high school football or getting done with high school football tomorrow. You can flip it on.
That's Peacock or listen to us.
It absolutely is. So let me let you know what we've got this weekend. Tonight we'll have Ravens at Chiefs with coverage beginning at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow night, Friday, Packers versus Eagles. Our coverage will start with the pregame at 6:30. Saturday we'll have Ole Miss versus MTSU with pregame starting at 1 o'clock. And then Sunday we will have a triple header. Patriots at Bengals at noon, Raiders at Chargers at 3 p.m., and then the Sunday night game, Rams and Lions at 7 p.m., and then Monday, of course, we'll have Monday Night Football, Jets and 49ers. So we're definitely going to have you covered.
That's the schedule.
It's jam-packed for sure. So definitely, if you want to listen to some NFL football, you want to listen to Ole Miss, we definitely have you covered right here on Sports 56. But we do need to get to our final break of the day, and when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with the Z. Good food fast.
Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. For nearly 2 decades, we've installed some of the best roof systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. Or visit us online at brianelderroofing.com.
Simple, smooth, and every sip is easier to last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi Golf Course offers membership? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. You'll find the lowest rates on Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
Jason's Deli. When you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting satisfied. Freshness is nearby. Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar in Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
And we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins!
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today, a lot of things I learned today, but how about this? I saw this last night. I'm sitting at a concert venue in Nashville, Tennessee, and I log on just for a quick second to Twitter, and when I tell you, my jaw hit the floor when I saw the quote from Quinshon Judkins talking about his first game experience at Ohio State, saying that playing in front of 100,000 fans at Ohio Stadium was a, quote, one-of-a-kind experience. I saw this, our buddy Stefan Krajishnik tweeted it out, and then the following that up with the quote, being at Ole Miss, I only got to see that at away games. A big quote from the big running back, Quinshon Judkins.
Did you see the video of it?
I did not, no. And we always talk about that difference.
It's not as incendiary. It's not as cutting.
Okay.
It didn't. Look, I'm not following that with Quinshon Judkins.
No,
I'm not at all. What he did for 2 years for Ole Miss.
Unbelievable.
And last year, he's right. I mean, there's just so many seats in Oxford.
Exactly.
I don't think they need to add any at all. So last year, it was at Alabama, over 100. Auburn's not, but it's 89. We'll count it. At Auburn, at Georgia. And that was it. So he did it 3 times. And the horseshoe's bigger than all 3 of those places. So
it absolutely is. So I'm glad you took that approach, because when I first
I'm
saw
not getting
it,
mad at Quinshon Judkins.
I
love him.
When I first saw it, I was blown away, like, ooh, that's big. And then I started seeing the other reactions on Twitter, which immediately after that came out were, of course, it's Twitter. And then I started kind of thinking about it and going, well, kind of like you were saying, it's a bigger stadium, and I think there's a lot of more aspects to it.
What a world for Stefan Krajishnik.
How about that?
Cover state, be on the Mississippi State beat, now seeing Ross Bjork quite often and Quinn Jenkins quite often.
And that was the other
covering
thing
the Buckeyes.
is I'm so used to Stefan Krajisnik being down there in Mississippi, and so kind of being the now he's up there and he went from there up there.
They're all in Columbus.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a good time last night.
I learned today that there are a whole bunch. I know the priorities here. There are a lot of Tiger basketball fans in this area. I am one of them. I have been one since 71, 72. Don Holcomb senior year, Larry Finch and Ronnie Robinson junior year. Also know there are a lot of crossover fans, Tennessee football fans that are Tiger basketball fans. Some Arkansas, kind of West Memphis, maybe Jonesboro thing. But when I hear people say everybody wants Penny Hardaway to do well, no, that's not the case. There are opposing teams out there of Tennessee, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and others that they haven't been cheering for him. So people don't need that big, broad brush out saying everybody's been cheering for him. No, some have been cheering against him.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people have. I think there's a lot of people out there that have been cheering against him, like you just mentioned. I think there's a lot of opposing fan bases.
We still are a melting pot in this market.
100%. You're absolutely right about that. And really, Brett, it leads me to what I could have done without today, and it is everything that has happened over these last 2 days. And really, I know I wasn't here yesterday, and so today was really kind of a little catch-up day for me to get my thoughts out with you. But to see last night the story from Sports Illustrated, Brett, we had been talking about it, privately earlier that day about that anonymous letter. But then to see Sports Illustrated have that front page on SI.com and it going around all of social media and just
Big J journalist. Pat Ford.
Yeah, that's right, exactly right. But to have that happen after the day that was, with all of that staff change and what's going on, why is this happening so late, yada, 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 to have that hit at the end of the night was really just another blow. It really feels like this basketball program is in a stage of chaos right now, and I really don't know where it goes from here, and it's going to be a really interesting and I'm worried, unfortunate story to follow over these next couple months.
I'm with you there. Brian, I could have done without this. It always gets this, and it's usually pretty lame. Whether it's sports or politics, it's always the media's fault. The old big bad media. And then that Penny was mistreated. Nobody has mistreated him here. No media person has mistreated him here. That's pure garbage. I for one, I took the stand for 3 years. His first 3 years, I said I would not have any criticism of him on or off there, and I stuck by it. I didn't. Who else gets 3 years?
Wow.
The softball coach doesn't get a 3-year break from anybody.
No, not at all. And so it's it's definitely coming to fruition now, though, with everything that's happening. A lot of people giving their thoughts on really where this program is right now and what Penny Hardaway has been over these last couple of seasons. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Lamar Hunt's Castle, Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Chiefs versus Baltimore. Kansas City leads 8-5 all time. They've won 5 of the last 6. Arrowhead opened in 1972. The Chiefs' record there, 244, 160-1 in regular season, 12-8 in playoff games. The record holder for most yards passing there, not a Chief. Warren Moon as an opponent for the Houston Oilers.
Wow, how about that? How could you not beam to Thursday Night Football tonight? How about this? We talked earlier with Doug about trends and do you follow them? I just saw this. Unders are 16-3 over the last 2 seasons at Arrowhead. So maybe an under game tonight. It should be a fun one. We've got Major League Baseball as well tonight. Oh, it's absolutely. Enjoy it. Enjoy your night, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.